I will bring this meeting of the Jericho Select Board to order at 6 p.m. on March 20th. And for this one, I would like a motion to open a public hearing for residential density.
I would make a motion that we open the public hearing for residential density.
I'll second that.
All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, thank you. So we are now open. We're in an open hearing for residential density. Thanks everybody for joining us. And I will turn it over to Chris to talk through what we're doing here today.
Great, thanks. Paula, can you pull up the presentation?
I'm way
Cool.
ahead of you, Chris.
Awesome, thanks.
Let me just find out. Hold on, let me just. Yes, yep, hold on, just one moment, Chris. Where's that little,
You got it. I think you did it.
oh,
Yeah.
okay, you do? Okay, perfect. You see it, Chris?
Yep. All right, so tonight's public hearing is to consider bylaw amendments that support Jericho's town plan and housing goals to make it easier to diversify housing types. Specifically, the proposed amendments that this hearing is about will make it possible to build housing types that are allowed in zones where growth is targeted on minimum lot sizes for that zones. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. So you can stay on this slide here. The issues being addressed are that triplexes and fourplexes are residential uses that are allowed in certain zones, but based on how density is calculated, they are not allowed on the minimum lot size for that zone. Jericho's zoning has an underlying density calculation of 2 dwelling units per minimum lot size that applies to the whole town. This means that to build a triplex or a fourplex that has 3 units or 4 units in a zone where it's allowed, one would need to have 2 minimum lots to get to the density that's needed to build one of those housing types. The proposed amendments increase how density is calculated in some zones so that triplexes or fourplexes can be built on the minimum lot size. This change supports Jericho's town plan, which calls for supporting a wide range of housing types in the town. Also, a recently adopted housing resolution that sets policies for encouraging construction of a variety of housing types. And it begins to implement some regulatory actions that were forwarded from the Affordable Housing Committee to the Select Board, and that the Select Board asked the Planning Commission to look at, specifically to allow fourplex in all zones and to update density calculations. The proposed amendments make it easier to basically to build triplexes and fourplexes in certain zones where we want growth. If you want to go to the next slide. So the Planning Commission started working on these proposed amendments back in December. Since then, the Commission has held 4 public meetings to consider the amendments and to hear public feedback. The first thing the Commission did was to define the scope of their work, which was intentionally narrowed to allow a thorough review of implications of the proposed changes and full discussion on those changes, all within an expedited time frame. Public comments received at the meetings included fully eliminating density limits altogether and considering changes to minimum lot sizes and the table of uses. To stay focused on making some changes in a short period of time, the Commission maintained their narrow focus on considering how density is calculated. You can go on to the next slide. Here I will walk through an example of the issue and the impact of the proposed changes using the village zoning district as an example. So this is a district that has a minimum lot size of 1 acre. And uses that are allowed in this zone include single family, duplex, triplex, and fourplex. In the images on the right side of the screen,
Hey,
each
Chris?
of those, yeah.
Hold on just one moment.
I found this part confusing, and I know it's the select board comments are later, but I guess I could have sworn that minimum lot size in village districts was a 1/4 acre.
That is the village center district.
Oh, thank you. Village center,
Yeah.
not village. Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Yep.
Continue.
So in the village district where there's a minimum lot size of 1 acre, so each of these squares on the right side of the screen represent a lot that's 1 acre. The top 2 squares show what is allowed under current zoning. In this case, it'd be a single family home or a duplex. The bottom 2 squares show additional residential uses that will now be allowed on the minimum 1 acre lot size if the amendment is adopted. And in this case, it's the addition of a triplex and a fourplex. So under current zoning regulations, both of these residential uses in this zone would require 2 acres instead of just the 1. So the impact is that the increase in the number of units per minimum lot size is targeted to zones that are slated for compact growth, and that includes the village center zones, the commercial zone, village zone, and the low density residential zone. And those all have different lot sizes. So in the village centers, I think it's a 1/4 acre. In the commercial and village zone, it's 1 acre. And in the low density residential zone, it's 3 acres. If you want to go to the next slide. Great. So there are 2 areas of zoning where amendments are being proposed. The first is in section 5.6 density. This is the section where the 2 residential units per minimum lot size is currently defined. This text is proposed to be deleted and replaced with a table assigning density allowances for each zone. This table is consistent with how other allowances for each zone is defined, like uses or minimum lot size, setbacks, lot coverage, and height. So it replaces text and puts it in a table that's consistent with how other regulations are formatted in this section of the code. You'll see that density for the rural agricultural residential zone and the forestry zone, those are the second and third columns on the left side of the table, do not change. This is because these areas are not designated for compact growth. So we wanted to keep the existing density as it currently is to encourage the more dense development in the 4 zones where we are trying to target growth. You can go to the next slide. All right, so the other area with proposed amendments is section 10.13, Planned Unit Development Review. This section defines how residential density is calculated for a PUD. The amendments here are needed to make sure that the text is consistent with changes that are being made in section 5.6. The method for calculating a PUD density is not changing. These are only amendments needed to make it consistent with 5.6, and then some minor edits to clarify the method of calculation. It doesn't change that method, it just makes it more clear. So this concludes my overview of the draft proposed amendments.
Thank you, Chris. Next on this list of the public hearing guide, we'll hear public comments on the proposed amendments. You have 3 minutes for comment. Any comments?
Nothing on mine.
See any on Zoom?
Okay. Oh,
Lacey, Jericho Center. I think these amendments as they are well done, professionally organized. Chris has done a good job. I continue to be delighted with his work. I will say that these proposed changes are really timid. They don't reflect the recommendations that you received from the Housing Committee and that you agreed to 5 months ago and that which you pledged your advocacy. We take the case of a triplex and a single family home. After your approval of these amendments, you've seen this before. This is a home in Stowe, 15,000 square feet, about a quarter of your maximum size. You still prefer this in every residential area in Jericho. And after these amendments, you're still banning this triplex in 70% of Jericho. Actually, this is only a permitted use in 14% of Jericho. There's some benefits to the density changes here, but 3-plex and 4-plex is still not a permitted use in the 3-acre zone. You have to go through a CUD, and put yourself up for, you know, that whole process. It's still not a permitted use. The bias over the last 50 years, and which has been tightened over the last 10 years up until 2022, when we legalized duplexes, has produced predictable results. Our median age in Jericho is now 47 years old. That is 9 years older than the median age for Chittenden County. According to the US Census, studio and one-bedroom units represent 3% of Jericho housing. Studio and one-bedroom units are 12% of housing in Richmond. Prevalence is 4 times higher in Richmond. 11% in Bolton, 14% in South Burlington, 10% in Colchester, 11% in Shelburne, 11% in Essex, and 18% for the county. In a regional housing crisis, barren of housing for young and single people, we are arguably the worst in Chittenden County. By the US Census, we have the lowest percentage of rental units in Chittenden County. 7% of our dwelling units are rentals. This compares to 27 of the units in Richmond are rentals, 21% in Richmond, 35% for the county, and 25% for the state. We have been extremely biased against rental units. Low and middle income people are out of character in Jericho. And you will decide tonight whether you continue to prefer housing like this single family home and want to continue banning housing like this in a rural section of Jericho. If you pass these amendments, you will leave in place density obstacles to small dwellings in the village zone. In the village zone.
Warning at 1 minute, or when we have 1 minute left, so you have 1 minute left.
In the village zone, for example, you will continue to welcome 3,000 square foot homes on 1 acre lots and limit the division of 3,000 square foot homes into small apartments. Rather than permitting a same-sized home with small apartments as a matter of policy and decency, you will subject an owner who wants to build 5 or 6 units in a 3,000 square foot home to a PUD. With a PUD comes neighborhood opposition, disparagement, shunning, and then lack of welcome for renters. I've seen all of this in Jericho Center. You can make simple improvements now. Change the table of uses to legalize the housing you said you want, and change the density to permit more of the housing the town plan calls for in the village zone. You can spend a month now making changes you already support. I've approved. Or together, we can count the months until you do change them. The issue here is not lack of time or lack of study. The issue is fear. We need your leadership to get past Jericho's fear of lower income people, our fear of renters, our fear of different housing types, our fear of the blowback which might come if lower priced housing appears in wealthy neighborhoods. We need to make some room. Boomers can't hold it all. I hope you will ask for some simple changes to these proposed amendments. Change the table of uses to permit triplexes and fourplexes in all zones. You've had years to think about it. You formed a committee to study it. You accepted the committee's recommendation on this 5 months ago. Second, change density limits in the village zone to allow apartments in a structure up to the limit allowed by the table of uses. In the village zone where you want density on a 40,000 square foot lot, it should not matter if a 3,000 square foot home has 1 unit or 6 units.
Thank you, Chuck.
I made more copies for you of what you did approve already. Just so they're on the top of the file. You mind if I come up with the?
I don't mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Other public comments?
Dear Carol, I live on Boulder Hill Road. I'd like to comment on the correction to 5.6. Very simple basis. We thought this was done in 2022. As Chuck has pointed out, it's still not done, but this is better than what there is now. And I think there's an important point to be taken from all this discussion, that we in Jericho seem to move in these glacial projects that take years, whether it was the commercial project or now the form-based code project. And yet the town encounters its own regulations at the town garage and moves with lightning speed to amend it because the garage that was already funded couldn't be permitted legally in the town. So boom, the town moves forward, but the rest of us who've got money invested and who have time that are trying to mitigate the problem of the discussion that Chuck brought articulately is Jericho is going to be in a serious economic problem with the aging. We're going to drive the older people out of town. I won't even tell you what my property tax checks were yesterday. It's incredibly frustrating to see what's going on because we're losing economic advantage because the schools are empty, the services are being increased, and the town doesn't have a population, so it doesn't get its application from the state. So this is just one small step forward, making the point that we in Jericho should be moving on all these small issues that have significant benefits instead of trying to spend all of our time on these, whether you should have a 20-foot setback in the front yard of the project in the sawmill that doesn't have the sewage to be able to move forward. So our prioritization, I think this is a priority to just move forward with this and now use the two things that have just gotten done, the town garage overlay district amendment and the correction to the error in 2022, which I have in writing and I participated in the meetings. So we're not doing anything monumental here. We're fixing a portion of something that we fixed in 2022 that had a Scrivener's error. And so I think if we can just go forward with this and then learn from this process, I don't disagree with anything that Chuck said. I think there's much bigger issues, but I think we should be able to do simple, easy fixes as soon as we know that there's a problem, whether it's with our sign ordinance or whether it's with density, whatever it is, it's obvious, let's fix it. It doesn't have to be part of a 2-year study involving hundreds of thousands of dollars of consultants fees. That doesn't get an awful lot done. That's it.
Thank you for your comments, Jim.
Thank you for your help.
Okay. Now the select board will discuss the proposed amendments. That's us.
Yes. I liked the presentation. I thought it was very clear for the public to don't understand some of the weedy stuff was much easier to understand if you were just the public looking at this. So that was very nicely done. And it's much clearer.
Yeah, I don't have any questions.
My question, Chris, to you is, I think I understand how this came about. And that we're doing this kind of alongside of the other zoning amendments that are being considered by the planning commission now. We couldn't do this as part of what they're working on, I believe, because it was part of I forget the name of it, Catherine will remember.
BMG.
The bylaw modernization grant, yeah. And so we kind of did this separately from that so that we worked on it in parallel, so we didn't have to wait for that other one to be done, I think is where we're at. My question to you is this like step one, you know, like Chuck was sort of suggesting, or Chuck was suggesting that this doesn't get us to where we said we wanted to go based on the housing recommendation. So is this like step one and then the rest comes with the next package, or can you help me understand that a little bit?
Yeah, so the list of recommendations that Chuck is referring to, I think there were 9 recommendations, and the select board forwarded 8 of those on to the planning commission to take on. There's one that I think was the select board wanted to take on, but there were 8 that the planning commission is going to take on. We are in the middle of, well, not the middle, we're at the end of finishing this bylaw modernization grant that is looking specifically at the village center zones. There are changes in the village center package that are going to address some of those 8 things that were on that list that the select board delegated to the planning commission. This change actually starts to address some of those things. Not fully, but it starts to. So one of the things was to permit 4plexes in all residential zones. I know that's a little different, but we are making it easier to build 4plexes on the minimum in the zones where they are allowed on the minimum lot size. We're not changing whether it's a conditional or a permitted use. We're just making it easier to making where it's well, it's for both, but conditionally you still have to go through an additional review. There was also, I'm trying to think here. Well, there are a number of other things on this list that are going to be addressed in the bylaw modernization grant. So I think one of the things was looking at reducing and eliminating minimum lot sizes in certain zones. That will be coming in the next package. There were 1 or 2 others. There are a number of recommendations that aren't captured in either this proposal or the BMG proposal. Both of those have focuses that are already defined. Once the bylaw modernization grant is wrapped up and the timeline is to be getting those to the select board for a hearing in June, once that is done, it is on the planning commission's work plan to pick up the housing work and begin that over the summer. So that will be coming at a later time, but it won't. Some of those things are now, some will be as part of the BMG grant, and then some will be in a later package.
I guess my request is, to Jim's point, if nothing else, help me understand it better when it does come to that. I hope that this table gets updated along with the other. I'm terrible with all the terminology of this, so I apologize, but in 2022, we approved some regulations, but we didn't touch the density, which made some of the recommendations not actually possible because of the density. I guess my request is that when we do that, if we can do them all in one package, you know what I mean? So that we're, or at least make it clear, like, hey, we're not doing this, here's why. I think that's fine too. I guess that would just be a request from me.
Yeah.
It's not easy to make it easy for me to understand, so I recognize that. That's my only comment.
You have to.
I'm not gonna encourage anyone to, the only motion I encouraged was I encouraged a motion to start a discussion. I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth.
I mean, if there are no other questions, then,
I guess I have a comment, which is that I'm a little caught between really agreeing with most of the stuff that Chuck is saying and also respecting the planning commission and your role, Chris, in that process, about sort of being methodical and sort of following following your process and executing it well. I am frustrated, not with you or the planning commission, but with the amount of time that it's taking to make changes to encourage housing and to increase accessibility. I'm not on board with everything that Chuck is saying in terms of sort of, which I'm gonna grossly misrepresent and sort of do anything anywhere in terms of building. But I am frustrated with how slowly the process is moving forward when we've been talking about this, about the housing. We have a serious housing problem in Vermont and in Chittenden County, and I think that we in Jericho have really not done a lot to address that as a community. Not that I'm against anything, and I'm supportive of this, and one of us gonna make a motion and pass it at the moment, but I do need the process to happen more quickly moving forward around creating housing options in our town and removing some of the barriers that exist to the marginalized groups.
Yeah, I like what Peter said, and I like how he started it by saying he's not, like, I feel the same way. I'm not frustrated with the planning commission and all their work or Chris at all.
Because they
But
had
I
to do
do-
the town plan and they, you know.
They're doing a bunch of stuff. I get it.
Yeah. Because they wanted a town plan that had a lot of public input, so that really was the focus for a very long time.
But the glacial pace is killing us, right? So like Jim points out a lot, he didn't actually point this out at this meeting, but the longer it takes, the more expensive building materials, labor gets. So the further you are away from ever being able to do it. So I hear you. I do think, based on what Chris's answer to my question was, I think it's a good step. And I think it's not the end.
This is a good step.
This is a good step.
Yeah.
And I think we need to keep the foot on the gas.
What is your choice to do?
I'm not,
I'd like a motion, I'd like to make a motion to approve the residential density changes, if that's the right language, as submitted.
I'll second that.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yeah, I was just asking if you wanted a motion.
Oh, yeah, I don't want to say I
We
want a
wanted this
motion
to make
because you might not want to do it like you, like,
Oh.
if we were to decide, right, like if we were to decide not to do it,
But
you don't make a motion
Sure,
not to,
motion.
you just don't
Well,
do
you
it.
make a motion not
Make a
to.
motion to say we
you
reject
make a
it,
note, you don't approve.
to not approve and send it back.
Oh, okay, I see,
Yeah.
I see. I see it as a,
Yeah. 'Cause you-
thank you very much, Chris, for this. Nice job.
Yeah, because you can make motions to accept it, motions to get rid of it, if you don't like it at all, or motions to send it back with tweaks.
Gotcha. Okay.
Thanks, Chris.
Oh, we
I would make a
is there a
motion
vote on the motion?
to close.
I think you're good, Chris.
Okay,
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing on residential density.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor say aye. And with that, we will call the regular portion of the Jericho Select Board meeting to order at 6:28 PM. I have a couple things to say at the beginning. Normally, we do public to be heard at the beginning, but our auditing company has asked to go first, so I'm gonna say something, then we'll go to the audit, and then we'll go to public to be heard. So last week, the last meeting, it was a little bit chaotic in that we did an executive session first. And that the room was so packed that we had to leave the room, so it was just a little discombobulated. So I really appreciate being nominated chair, but what I meant to do last week is thank Catherine for chairing the committee for so long. She's been doing it the entire time that I've been here. It's not an easy job. She has led us through some challenging and important topics, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes. Nice job, Catherine.
So that said, in order to make our meetings more efficient, we are limiting public comment to the beginning of the meeting, which is the public to be heard section. Select board meetings are in the public, not of the public. There will occasionally be an agenda item where we ask for public comments. I don't have any tonight that I think that we're gonna ask for that on now. With the exception of one of the comments, one of the topics, we invited the chair of that committee. I don't see her on yet.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, so in public to be heard, you have 3 minutes. Please try to be civil. And please do not use the chat on the Zoom for anything other than technical issues. Like, hey, I can't raise my hand, I can't hear you, that type of thing is fine for chat, but please do not make comments in the Zoom chat. And so with that, we will go over to Rick Brigman from Sullivan Powers and Company.
Hey, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Do you need me to share the screen, Rick?
Nope, not at all. As long as they have the
Perfect.
reports in front of them, we'll thumb through them really quickly, get you an
Okay.
overview. And if there are any
Okay.
questions, I'll be here.
Sounds good.
So you're seeing your audit in front of you. It's 49-page report, a lot of great information in there. But really this financial statement is the result of Brian, his staff, the board. This is your responsibility for putting the report together. My responsibility as your auditor is really limited to pages 1 through 3. If you want to go to that, that's what we call the auditor's opinion. So when we're doing an audit, we have 3 choices in giving an opinion. We can give a adverse opinion saying the financial statements aren't fairly stated. We can give a qualified opinion saying the financial statements are fairly stated except for something or some things. And then we can give the best opinion, which is an unqualified opinion. Once again, the town has achieved a unqualified opinion on the financial statements. And I always like to congratulate the board and the staff and Brian for all the hard work that gets to that point, because I have many clients who, are trying to get to that point of not having qualified opinions or, adverse opinions. And so I always like to congratulate my clients that do get that. So if you looked at nothing.
Yeah.
That's like an A, right?
Yeah, it's like an A.
A plus maybe?
That's an A, yes.
Okay, great.
Doesn't mean the results are.
It's always great to get a clean audit. No question about it.
So if we're looking at pages 4 through 9, if you looked at nothing else in this audit report and you just wanted to focus and get a real good idea of what happened during the year in user-friendly terms with less complicated kind of disclosures, this is what we call the management discussion and analysis. Again, this is prepared by management there. We review it as part of the comparing back to the financial statements to make sure it's reflective of the same information. But it's a much more user-friendly document to kind of see how the year went, what looking forward looks like, certain kind of information in there. So if you did nothing else but focus on those pages, you'll get a lot of great information. So I'm going to skip over pages 10 and 11. Those are basically what we call the government-wide financials, what it would look like if you treated the town as a business, putting in all the fixed assets and debt and looking at the numbers from that perspective. Obviously, most towns don't look at that for anything specific to how they're looking at operating results. They're more looking at what we'd see as on pages 12 through 15. These are the fund financials. So if you're looking at, like, for example, if you look at page 12, I'm not going to spend much time on it, but this is the balance sheet of your major funds, which was for you guys is your general fund and your road impact fee fund. So this tells you as a snapshot in time of your assets and liabilities at June 30, 2024. Again, a lot of the information's old and the numbers are a little outdated at this point, actually being 7 or 8 months later. But the thing I like to focus on is looking at your fund balance in your general fund, the unassigned. You'll see it at the bottom, 826,157. That's a good, healthy fund balance. And looking at that, last year you had 765,127. So a little bit of an increase, but relatively flat year for the fund balance of the general fund. And again, same thing in the road fund, having 120,075. And then if you wanted to see the revenues and expenses,
Hey, Rick,
yeah,
hold on. We have a question.
Sure.
Does fund balances mean that that's money sitting in an account?
it's
Or
not really
settlement?
money. It's assets minus liability. So it could be receivables, it could be prepaids, it could be any kind of
This is
all sorts
accounting
of
stuff, not. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Yep.
Oh, right. Okay, never mind.
So anyway, so like I said, if you move over to page 14 and you wanted to see the revenues and expenses that made up those funds and the change for the year, you'll see the general fund and road impact fee and all the revenues and expenses that came in and were paid out. Obviously there's a little bit better detail of the expense and revenue side if you're looking at page 16, which is your budget actual. Sometimes I go into a little bit of detail with my clients at the budget actual, but again, a lot of this information is old and also has not been changed pretty much since we came in to do the audit. Sometimes if we're doing adjustments or corrections, I like to go over that, but a lot of this information is exactly as we received it when we got to do the audit. So there weren't a lot of adjustments in here. So the information should be relatively what you've heard all year long.
The other thing that I would add here is that I think the better presentation, and this is a standard presentation, but a better presentation is in the town report, and it's the format that we worked on with the budget. And that's important because it matches up things like the specific revenues and the specific expenditures that are related to those grants, for example. And there's a real matching theme that goes through that presentation that isn't here. Here it lumps all the revenues and puts all the expenses down below. But the relationship that's there in the town report is a bit better and
In
more.
that spreadsheet that we work on for the budget.
Exactly,
Yeah.
in which all three or four of you are very familiar.
Yeah.
So looking at the other thing I wanted to point out to you, if you're looking at pages 19 to 39, those are what we call the notes to the financial statements. A lot of great information there on cash balances, what's insured, what's uninsured, what are your fund balances, what can they be used for, debt balances, who you owe, what interest rates, capital assets, how things are depreciated. If you're looking for a deeper dive of any of the assets, liabilities, or just fund balances in general, this is a great place to get more detailed information, but obviously a lot of that, we don't have a lot of time to go into any of that stuff tonight. So again, looking at pages 42 through 47, you have a lot of other funds there. You have the special revenue funds and capital project funds. This is similar information as you saw in the front, but these are all the non-major funds, the Bentley Cemetery, the Maud Brown Fund, the Stevens Trust, all those kinds of funds are built back here with the same kind of concept. You've got a balance sheet and you've got an income statement. Balance sheet shows you a snapshot of time of where the assets and liabilities were, and the income statement shows you the net, how revenues and expenses flowed through those funds. One of the requirements of doing an audit is communicating to the board any material weaknesses and significant deficiencies that we find during the course of our audit. I'm proud to tell you that you guys should be proud because there were no significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that we noted as part of our audit procedures. And again, that's really a testament to all the hard work there.
So another,
That's an important.
Another A.
important thing that be able to do that.
There's one other I'd like to point out, and that is the value of this document in general. And I think for me, it's reassuring to have someone like Rick and Sullivan Powers come in and look over our shoulder. That's great. That's terrific. And I'm glad we do it. But we did see the benefit of having this document and having the audit done, which is when we got the bond. And that allowed us to be compared with this audited financial statement, allowed us to be evaluated on a level that's one can be done with certainty by those who are looking at us, providing that bond, looking at this document is very helpful, and it strengthens our ability to in fact get a bond.
increases our credit score if you were talking to the personal sector, right?
Yes.
Bumps
I
up
was
to
just thinking that, is there a municipal equivalent to a credit score to like your towns? Is there like a number or a letter? I've heard like A+ rating and A++ for different, for the state and
I
stuff.
think the league has done that, Peter. I've seen comparisons of fund balances, for example, in relation to the annual budget. And there are some rankings that I think the Vermont League does on that. I don't know if you're familiar with that, Rick, but
I haven't seen too much of that because again, in Vermont, most of the bonds, you go in as a whole group with all the towns and cities together. And it's really applying for the bond and getting the information to the bond banking, making sure they have the information to be able to include the bond in with their group package of all the municipal bonds together. That's a little different than a lot of states where if you did a audited financial, that would dictate your personal town rating or city rating if you're floating your own bond, so to speak.
Gotcha. Cool. That's a really good point, though. I appreciate that.
Are you done, Rick? I have a question, but I don't want to cut you off.
I just have 2 or 3 other quick things and then I'll be done.
Okay.
These are other required communications to the board. We encountered no difficulties in dealing with staff or management. We had no disagreements with staff or management. There were no consultations with other auditors, and all entries that we proposed were posted by management. So that's pretty much my presentation. And yes, do you have a question?
Yeah, I had 2 questions, which are sort of similar. Well, when you first talked and said that it all looks good and that the audit came back clean and everything, I'm wondering, what does it look like? Like, what are the kind of things that can be off or that can be not great, that make you not give us an unqualified, whatever you said about like everything looks good? Like, what are the sort of things that other towns or that sort of pop up?
Well, like in certain cases, I've had to go into a town and they had no reconciliation procedures. They had books and records that were almost unauditable because you couldn't trace things back and forth. So you couldn't really get to hear a number. So you give a report, but then you have to give an adverse opinion. As far as the qualified opinion, let's just say you said, hey, we don't want to book our unavailable grants. We don't believe in that concept. And so then we'd say, oh, well, your report's good except for unavailable grants. And we would obviously modify the opinion related to the aspects related to unavailable grants. But it's looking at certain kinds of assets or liabilities that maybe you're not including, or maybe you didn't do the new lease standard and initiate that, or maybe you didn't include your debt for the government-wide financial statements, or maybe you didn't ever.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yep. Go ahead.
Basically, like careful record keeping and transparency.
100%. Yep. I mean, like Brian said, this financial statement, and he's kind of right that the format, you guys would love to tweak it. He would love to tweak it, but this is the format that everybody compares to everybody else to. So when you're looking at it, they want to know that you're all doing the same standards. You're all booking all the prepaids or fixed assets and all those things that are happening throughout the year. So if you're not doing that, that's where that kind of issue would come in. Or if you're just, the records are so poor, then that can cause usually an adverse opinion, and they would usually try to work their way out of that. So.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thank you, Brian and Amy, who's not here, for just dotting all.
They
the
are
I's,
really
crossing the
good.
T's, and just being on top of
Yep.
this stuff. And
And now we have to make a motion to
Yeah.
accept the audit.
Is there a motion to accept
I
that?
would make that motion.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you
Rick.
so much, Rick.
Rick, thank you very much.
Take care. Have a good meeting.
Bye-bye. Thanks,
Bye.
Brian, for coming in.
In a former life, I had an auditing, I took an auditing
And-
class,
Brian, just so that,
accounting and auditing.
so Brian, now that he's gone, just to let you know that like a lot of the stuff that he says, I'm like, okay, whatever, I don't know what you're talking about, but in planning for the meeting, I said, let's keep this as short as possible, because basically all I need to know is Brian and Amy are on top of it, and they think Brian and Amy are okay, then if
Mhm.
we think they're okay, then we're good. So I just want to, I appreciate, there's no need to like dig in deep, and it's just very,
Mhm.
it's all above board and documented super, super well, which makes it super easy, so thank you.
They do an amazing job,
But
you and
I think
Amy.
it's good to have certain things presented because of transparency.
Absolutely.
People who are here, who do pay attention to audits.
Yep.
Will look at that and look at your balance sheets and things like
Yep.
that.
This is a tough document to go through. I struggle with it.
What do you mean?
So 1 year ago today, that document was handed to me, I was like, what have I got? I read the whole thing cover to cover, like,
That's
oh
good.
my
That's
god.
very good. That's very good.
I never knew in the audits, what's really informational is the payments. Like there's a payment schedule for our equipment and all of that. See, it's right there.
Yeah.
Like, when it's happening, when the deadline is and everything.
Can serve as a quick reference.
Yes.
But I would say to you, if you have questions, please don't hesitate. If there's something that just either doesn't make sense or it's, you know, for example, there's.
I did wonder about the Stevens Fund he mentioned. Oh,
Oh, my gosh.
Don't hesitate to ask.
This is Stevens Fund.
That is the Stevens Fund, you're right.
I did find it odd to mention paving raceway. road.
But he's correct. The important thing is to read the management letter.
Yeah.
That really, and then the first, balance sheet that is important, and then the stuff at the back. In
Yep.
terms of how they feel what they've done for you. Because, you know, if you think this is the document, let's just see the one that comes to RPC.
Yes.
oh, sure.
Thank
But
you.
we're very lucky we have Jeff Carr and the finance committee.
Yes.
Oh, I did it wrong.
Jeff is a superstar.
I was supposed to do public to be heard first, and then I was swapping the other two around.
Yeah, I know you were, but
I realized.
you just go right ahead. It's your meeting.
Okay, so now we'll do public to be heard, which was supposed to be first despite all my. Is there any member of the public who wish to talk about
I
something
would just
on
like
or
to
off the
say thank
agenda?
you for moving that forward. It's really appreciated. And it's indicative of people hearing things are important.
We got a thank you from Jim.
Noted.
Say that, please.
Check.
My meds early.
Thanks.
Don't note that, please. Don't note that.
All for sure.
Strike that.
Okay, sorry.
All right.
So the next thing is the fun thing, and Paula, I don't know if Linda caught you up to speed. I meant to tell you about it. I didn't tell you about it. What we decided at the last meeting when we were doing our select board reorganization
Mm-hmm.
is I requested that all three of us come to this meeting with our priorities for
Mhm.
this next year. like
Okay.
Between now and next town meeting.
Yeah.
And with the goal of hoping that we can get to some kind of agreement as a board of what these priorities are. And then that we use those priorities to populate our select board meetings
Mhm.
instead of
Yes.
opposed to dealing with the stuff that comes
Yep.
in and then we get too busy for the other stuff. So
Sure.
if we kind of start it by saying, okay,
Yep.
hey, we're gonna talk about wastewater here, we're
Yep.
gonna, so anyway, so this discussion is really for the three of us to see how well our versions of the priorities align, and ideally, even if we don't agree, coming out of this discussion with at least a framework of
Yeah.
what we think is the highest priority.
Okay.
Well, and some of it too, even if we don't agree, there may be enough play that.
Yeah, it may not have,
Mhm.
it may not be perfect. Exactly.
yeah,
this
for
is 1,
sure,
2, 3,
for
4, but
sure.
Like, if we're pretty well aligned in the top 3 or 4, I think that's really good.
Mm.
So how do you wish to proceed?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Peter sent me his,
Oh, he's so efficient.
he is, and then it was long. No, it was good. I read it, but I meant to have it up.
Send it to
Mine was
me.
longer, but I shortened it to, just the parameters, within financing stuff that, I figured we could afford.
Yeah, I guess I didn't put enough thought into the best way to have this discussion other than just to start talking about it.
Right.
So,
But I'll start with number 1,
okay.
and that is, I'm sure we're all going to agree, Palmer.
Palmer Lane. Oh, gosh.
Palmer Lane or Palmer's?
Lowe's Ice Cream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've reached out to them.
Because yesterday, it was a lovely day.
Which everyone in town loved, except for the three of us. I was like, are you kidding me? It's only March, 70 degrees out.
Were they serving?
Yes.
they were.
Oh,
I went by at 2:30
Yeah.
and,
Mob scene.
it was a mob scene, but at least the parking wasn't too bad.
okay, good.
But that made me think that probably should be number 1, find out where we are, and because they can, we need to, because obviously people don't want to have us to have put signs up again, and we.
Paul did say he was working with Von Turkovich's to get some sort of parking agreement in place. That's,
Cool.
When did you say that?
When was that?
I just checked before I left, so it was,
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
so-
it wasn't too long ago.
Oh, that's good.
Yep, I have a paper on it, but I'll find it.
Okay,
No, that could be an update then.
that's a
Yep,
good one.
Yeah.
Well, my hope is that that one doesn't need several
right,
updates throughout
Yes.
the year, but maybe it does. I
Right.
It may.
Yep.
Yeah.
okay,
Another biggie is, given the clawback of money that happens, happening now, we really, really need to do something moving that, Lee River sidewalk forward.
it's moving.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Because I was gonna say,
There is no, we have spoken with
I know
the,
wild, the water.
yes, Lee River is moving forward. We have to wait because we moved it back to the other side and we're working on the engineering and stuff like that. And that's moving forward. And they said, Linda had spoken with the state or for the grant, and they said, as long as it's moving forward, you're gonna get the money.
Yeah,
So,
I just worry though, because you need to see even more than just moving forward, because
yep,
clawing back money that, is not spent.
When you say clawing back, you mean that
Losing it.
that they're taking money that not money that we've been given, but money that Vermont's been given.
Well, we've been.
Money we've been promised, but
We've been given money.
don't physically maybe have yet. Is that what you mean?
So they said, we'll
give you this
grant,
yep.
this amount of money, you're gonna get that in 2027 or whatever.
Mhm.
And now
Oh,
we're
no,
just
no,
waiting.
this sidewalk, went to right away in 2021. So, I mean, it's been sitting,
Right.
so
But
that's why.
so the state has said to us, yes, we like your project, we're gonna fund whatever percent we're supposed to do,
But
and we're gonna do that, and you're worried that
the feds,
the feds will pull all
because
that.
they pulled back money from other people's grants.
But and I'm not joking, but it doesn't hit, and it doesn't, none of the words in it are red flags
No.
for the president. There's no DEI, there's no women,
No.
bicycle and walkability are red flags.
Right.
Like official, those are red flags. Is
Mhm.
that part of it at all? Probably it is, right?
It's walkability and.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, so that, because I accumulate a lot of old ones.
Yep.
Mhm.
From moving forward, but
Okay.
that's good to know, because, I also didn't want to pay back 50-some thousand.
Yep. okay,
And then, we still have that last boulder remove at old Red Mill, and then follow what we can with the side, with the foundation that needs to happen. Because eventually we're gonna, the underground is gone,
yep, it's gone.
toast.
Yep.
The wall wrap,
No money.
no money. So at least we can do the foundation, which is what we said we do, but after that, it's the old mill figuring out the thing.
Okay.
At least we stabilized that. And then, the other thing is the sidewalk grant applications are gonna be opening soon. That it seems that the spring they open that. So I would suggest that we consider doing the Griswold to Packard. Because we've already got the money for, Riverside, we've got the money for MMU.
Oh, yeah. So we approved that
We've approved that.
plan, but we haven't gone after the.
Correct.
Right, and we went out to the grant, and this is, even though this is the second go round.
What do you mean second go around? Second attempt?
So, this would be the second attempt
Ask
already.
for money for.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, because when we did the first study, we went to do Griswold and Packard, they said, nah. And so it may take several iterations again, so in the spring, we should start, because maybe it'll happen once, maybe you have to do it again, but at least if you started the process.
Yep,
Okay.
Then you can find out what else is.
So it's happening in the next couple of months, that those grants will open up.
Yeah, I think that's in the spring that they open up.
yeah, I'll check with Linda.
Because we don't want to miss that opportunity. In roads, with April 1st, the report and fees due for the GRP compliance. I wanted to see how we're doing, and then I followed up with ideas on that.
None of those words made any sense.
The MRGP,
Yeah, the municipal general road permit,
Yeah.
April 1st.
Mhm.
The fees.
oh yeah, they've already been paid.
But I was gonna say, how are we doing, it'd be nice to have a thing on how we're doing with our compliance. With.
You mean of doing the upgrading of roads or whatever? Yeah, we are on that. Jacob has that. He
I
has
know
the,
it's really good.
a map. Yep,
But it's good to know.
Yep. yep,
What do we want?
Absolutely.
Select board want to do or know about? I just don't understand what we're talking about.
Because
It
has to do with
Keeping our roads high enough quality.
Hydrological.
Connected roads.
Okay.
So you're looking at the stormwater issues and the fun, stuff that goes into the lake, and you
Okay.
have to pay permit fees for it. And you want to make sure you're on the right list, because again, you get, marks against you if you're not, basically.
Okay.
No, yeah, we're on
Is
that.
our record clean around our
Yeah.
maintaining of roads and
Yeah.
in terms of how the water
Mhm.
flow works?
Yep.
Right.
Yep,
Yeah.
every year we go and do a portion of a gravelled road. Like this year, last year we did part of Nashville and we extended that. And there's a map that they have and you can go in and mark what work you've done. And they make it, like, there's like color coded signs, like, or color coded pieces. And this one, like, say purple is the one that needs to be updated and worked on, right? So you go in and you say you just did that. It's all up to the MRGP standards and they mark it green. So that's taken care of. So you can go on another gravel road and find that.
This is something you haven't done
Right.
much with, so it's good for you.
Mhm.
Is it just hydrologically connected or
Yes.
just roads in general?
Roads in general are up to 2038, but
Mhm.
roads, the roads that are hydrologically connected, the high priorities needed to be done by 2025.
Mhm.
And what has to happen by 2038?
2038, it's not required they would like to have best practice, consider this be best practices so that all your roads are treated like they were hydrologically connected. But that's why they give you to 2036.
Oh, I see. Okay.
2036.
They have to, the ones that already are.
Yeah.
Hydrologically connected need to be dealt with earlier.
Yeah.
2038 is the
38,
hopeful
36,
deadline for all roads.
Yeah,
because they'd like to, that's the best practice.
okay.
Okay, we have to determine the best way to utilize if by 26, the additional 30K once that report comes in.
Additional 30K for,
Safety.
That-
yes,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah,
yep,
and then, we've always talked periodically about impact, updating our fee structure for impact fees.
Oh.
yep, we are working on that.
Yeah, and then, will happen in, December, January, but it's a FY 26 thing, but you're gonna do it for FY 27. But our master transportation plan, including the additional gravel roads and culverts and bike paths were all done in 2015. So other towns are redoing their master plans. So this would go to the UPWP for 2027.
Yep.
I'm so.
Jacob.
Go up, sorry. go ahead.
No, go ahead, no,
No,
go
go
ahead. Jacob did find those studies for the gravel roads and for the 2015 one. And so what he's trying to do is compile the gravel roads. What's the first one that should be looked at? That's most important. And then have it go down, go through so that you guys can see Nashville Road. That's the first one, say. And, it's gonna cost this much to, get that road back up to standards.
Yeah, and that was one of the lesser expensive,
Yep.
things to do, but it's good to update it, because Nashville was the biggie on that particular thing. But it also was the one that found that the culvert under Raceway was totally toast, and we
Mhm.
had to do that $400,000 culvert there.
Yep.
So it's probably done, but our master ped and our bike paths are seriously out of date since it's like 2015. And
Sorry, the master.
master transportation and master bike path, they were all done in 2015.
Mhm.
Bike
Okay.
and pedestrian plan.
Yeah,
Oh.
and these are your master plans that from the RPC does it. That's part of the UPWP. All you do is pay your match. You don't have to pay for doing it.
Yep.
Just pay for your match. And what they do is they go look through your roads. They, determine, what's in good shape, what's not, what you need to do. Because we're still trying to work on the Skunk Hollow, but, intersection. Still is part of it. And Lee River was another, Lee River Brown Trace was another one of our high impact intersections. Plus, they talk about all the different roads and how you can continue your pavement quality index and things like that. So it's useful to have those updated
Okay,
because they're 10 years old. I didn't think these things were on anybody else's list, so that's why I did them.
I was just gonna say, you're not gonna believe it, my list is identical to everything you've said.
no, it's not. Oh, man.
So those are good things, like, those are the things that make me nervous about being the chair, because without you here.
I was just thinking, I was gonna say, I
I know,
so glad
but-
Eric's the chair, I'm not, because
Yeah.
you have in your mind, Catherine.
It's
you're not-
You
unbelievable.
gotta find a way to practice in a way that makes sense to people like
Yeah.
me and Peter.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, I
You
agree.
got it all in your head, which is amazing,
Right.
but we
Well,
need
she
a way
has it on
to.
paper too, but.
But it's in my head first.
Right.
Okay,
Right, and it is the bill is, it's H 481 that we should pay attention for stormwater, because they're going to extend the deadline to 2028 anyway. If the bill goes through, and that's part of the bill that already has got more support than what VLCT would like to see. Some other things on how to differentiate municipality impact. from
Okay.
this. But, you know, obviously, we were probably all had the, you know, moving forward with the water and wastewater projects. We do have that Bulger Hill stormwater study, whether that water is causing, the runoff from there is causing foundation issues in the ADA, you know, the structural of the library.
Walter Hill, like the.
Bulger.
Oh, Bulger Hill.
I mumble fast. I mean, you should have seen the A1. We tried because I don't have a secretary on the jet force, so I did the AI companion
Oh.
because.
Couldn't keep up.
And some of the things they put, I went, what were they thinking? Okay, I guess there's a little, either slow down or be a little more clarity and how I thought. But anyway, because, you know, obviously ADA accessibility and grants is gonna be a real issue for the library at this point, that structural issues could be handled, and maybe just looking at water runoff would help that foundation. And again, we do have outdated public works specs, and it would really be nice to somehow update those.
I have that. That's definitely on my list.
And I'm sure this is gonna, they'll be talking about this when you go on Saturday, is that we have to take an ethics training that's gonna be available mid-year, and there's something, and a thing that we have to go to, that's available right now, that's on the Secretary of State's office that we.
Yeah, it's like
I
a little,
went to try
little
to find it.
test.
I went to VLCT, I started watching this thing, watched the whole entire thing, then read down. Please note, this is not the training that qualifies. And I went to the Secretary of State website and they're like, coming soon. I'm like, okay.
But that's the ethic, but there is a thing on the Secretary of State that has to do with open meeting that we have to take as well.
Yeah, so it's open meeting is the one that I watched. I watched an open meeting thing from VLCT because that's a required training for the chair. And this was a couple months ago. And then read, please note, this is not the training. I wish I would have read that first. It was good information. Always good to refresh. Open meeting is very important.
Yeah, it really is.
So, but yes, we have to take that one. And then there's an ethics one.
Yep.
Yes, there's an ethics that
I already
they're
took it.
developed, they're coming up with the protocol for it. It's supposed to be mid-2025. So by the fall, we should be taking that. They haven't got it yet, as far as I can find, but you know, by the fall, we're supposed to have it.
I took one class for the ethics
Yeah,
so-
but.
and you had to take like a little test at the end.
Right,
Oh,
Yeah.
that could be the one that's also, early. But they said there's another ethics that they're working on.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
okay. So
All right.
this list actually helped me understand part of like the problem that it's not a problem, but it helps me understand what I'm trying to solve or get better at, is because these are the types of things that I, you know, especially as not being the chair, show up on the agenda. I'm like, okay, and they take a while because they're important stuff, and they do take up a lot of our time. And then things like wastewater and updating the density thing, it takes a long time. And
Mhm.
so I love having this list so that we can work them in when we need to, know
Yes.
they're coming.
Yep.
And still work in
Yep.
the other stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
That
Did you
yeah.
just add all Catherine's to your list?
I took notes of them.
Okay, I got Catherine's,
I got
but-
Palmer, I got Palmer,
Okay.
Palmer Maple, I got Lee River sidewalk, I got Boulder removed from the Old Mill stream.
Yep,
Sidewalk grant applications.
yep.
For Griswold sidewalk,
Yep.
roads, the April 1st. fees.
MRGP, that's already done. Yep.
Yeah, $30,000 to reduce speed in Jericho. the impact fees,
Mhm.
the master road plan. I wrote down H481, but I think at that point I
That's
was just
true. Right.
typing.
Yep.
Whatever she was saying.
Yep.
The Soldier Hill Stormwater.
Yep.
And then Public Works specs.
Yep.
Yeah, I feel.
And then you, one thing was.
Wastewater.
Master bike head plans.
Yeah, the transportation.
Master
Oh, I
trades,
skipped
yep,
that.
transportation and bike head.
That's two separate things.
Road.
Yep.
Two separate things.
Bike, okay.
And then the ethics training.
So will you send me, or will you send me yours and you send me yours as well? Or you want to read through them tonight?
I'd like to hear.
Yeah,
Did you do this, Eric? Did you make priorities?
I sure did,
I'd
yeah.
love to hear yours,
Ooh.
share mine.
okay.
Well, I get to be the chair, so I get to go last.
Okay. I was
Oh,
being polite, asking. I'm not interested in yours at all. I just want to read mine.
okay.
I take her to the bathroom. So I went at a different scope level, because like Eric said, a lot of these things here feel like the things that, like, Paula will just, is gonna, in November, she's gonna say, oh, hey, we have to do the whatever thing, and we'll pop up and we'll deal with it, but I like the idea of, I love the idea, I'm not sure if you're thinking, Eric, but like laying out the whole year from March to March, and saying, well, we know that the, whatever, the master transportation plan has to be done here, so let's just figure out where to go and begin to build the November agenda now,
Mhm.
and then look for where there are spots to do other stuff. And I thought more in the larger sort of 10,000 foot, bigger sort of multi-year projects.
Well, that's what the master plans are, because you would put them as grant applications to UPWP in it's anywhere December, January, when the grant applications are open, and then they would be starting in FY 27.
So I had 4 things, so I sat down and began to kind of think about it. I said, oh, wait, I'm just gonna go look at the town plan and see what's there and what things on there I am sort of are a priority for me, not me personally, but me personally as a
Yeah,
representative of the
sure.
town. And the 3 things for me were the wastewater feasibility study. And I have, this is kind of what we're Eric, I'd like to see the SB be really tuned into this work on an ongoing basis with frequent, like, monthly updates from Paul or Chris, just around where it's at. So even if it's like, nothing's happened in the last month, and here's why, because we're waiting for this to come back around.
Okay,
So that when someone says, hey, what's up with wastewater? I'm able to say, oh yeah,
Yep.
here's where it's at, and I'm
Yep.
tuned in, rather than just like, oh, I don't know, I'll ask Paul and see what's going on.
sure.
So, rather than having Chris and Paul kind of chug away at it, that we're involved and sort of similar to the way we kind of said to Chris, like, hey, great work, amazing. I said, I'm frustrated with how
Yeah.
long this is taking to make those changes, like that kind of awareness of what's going on at the board level. I really like the idea, this is from the town plan, of initiate the process to expand the current capital budget into a comprehensive capital improvement plan. And as Rick from the auditor was talking about, laying out sort of what the purchase plans are, and Paul, you said at some point in relation to that, like looking at, you're talking about the roads, like Nashville Road needs
Yes.
this, and that's the next one
Yep.
line is Nashville.
Right.
We're gonna do it this year, and it's gonna cost
Yep.
this amount of money, and be able to have the next, I would love to see like the next 20 years or even just 10 years laid out of
That's
what's
what we're
gonna be
doing, yep.
built. And, when we had that up for the budget process, and we had like next year, 26 was like, the column was full, and then it got very thinner and thinner going out, and Chuck was like, so are we doing nothing going out? And
Right,
the
right.
answer was no, but like,
Right.
I'd like to see those columns filled out with like really as specific as we can be without handcuffing ourselves.
Okay,
Yeah, because typically you would like to see at least 5 years anyway on your capital.
Yeah, I'd love to see 10. I think having a map that isn't gonna be perfect, but we know that in 9 years, we gotta be thinking about a bucket loader or
And
whatever.
VLCT used to give really good trainings on how to create a PIP.
And then this is a smaller grain size, but it jumped out at me, which was reestablishing the town rec committee. I feel like that we as a society, not just Jericho, but that we're all kind of in our houses, on our phones, on our computers, and not getting face to face with each other. And I would love to see a rec committee. My impression as an outsider up until a year ago was that the rec committee was basically like, they deal with stuff for kids. They deal with the summer camp stuff and that kind of
Oh,
stuff.
no, that's summer camp is totally separate project.
Okay. So my impression with their focus was primarily student, was not students, was kids. I
That's
would
how they
love,
started,
I would
absolutely.
love to see the rec committee, be reborn and to be focused on sort of all generations and getting people out and doing things. I think Underhill's done a good job. They have food truck night. They've got some things going on there, the ice skating rink, which I don't really use, but I just think that they've done a, not
We
that
have
it's
an ice skating
perfect, but let me just get my ideas out.
Sorry.
That's what we did. Yeah, go on.
So just to have a committee that is focused on getting people into community and doing things together. Like one idea I had, we could roll out we could use the town garage, the side of the town garage for an outdoor movie night. We'll have this big new brand new building. We
Well,
can
that's true.
multiple uses for it. So I just and just that was my third idea was just, which is not in the town, my fourth idea, which is not in the town plan, is the Riverside property, which is driving me up the wall about just, because I live right there. It's like this huge field, this big dirt lot that nothing is happening on. And I actually went, and I'm gonna put this in Selectboard Updates, but I actually set up a meeting with Bill Butler and Michael
Oman.
O-M-A-N,
OMAN.
thank you, Michael Oman, and met with them yesterday morning, because I didn't really know. I knew Wisdom House looked like a theory, but I tried to kind of pin them down, like, what kind of money do you have? What do you want to do? What's the size? Where's it gonna be? And I can talk about that, but regardless, I would like to see the select board in the same vein of sort of being involved in wastewater, like talking with Greg Tatro, like, you own this property, what do you want to do? When are you planning on doing it? How can we help you move it forward? What can we
Absolutely.
do to make it work for you? Because we want our tax base to be enlarged by 80 more houses in that area, and we want, we want to develop, you presumably want to develop, you bought it to develop it, and so how can we work together to get that moving forward? So those are the four big things for me.
That's a biggie.
Wastewater, capital budget, town rec committee, and Riverside.
Well, that's how, I mean, that, isn't it, because that's what we really focused on with the last report, say, focus on Riverside so we can get something happening there with wastewater.
Yep.
I mean, because you're right, that makes the most sense. Yeah, I'll be interested in hearing what you have to say from Bill.
So I think it's interesting the order in which we went, because I think Catherine went at a pretty detailed level. Peter zoomed out a little bit. I'm actually zooming out a little bit more with mine, or at least the way that made sense for me to write them last night, because it's hard to just corral all of them into like a bulleted list or an ordered list.
Yeah,
So I just kind of went on some of the things that I've seen in my 3-4 years here. Probably my biggest priority for the town is expanding affordable housing and making our town more affordable. And then there are things that fall under that, right, because it's one thing to have a priority, like, oh, I want to lower our taxes. Well, I don't have an action plan to lower our tax. You know what I mean? So I tried to come up with things that are priorities at a high level, and then include them if they're actionable. So the 3 actions I have that fall under that category: wastewater and Riverside, easing of zoning restrictions, and direct involvement. So a lot like what Peter just said.
Yeah.
I don't know about necessarily working with Greg. I don't know what exactly that is, but starting to think about those things and starting to use that type of thing to populate our meetings with, maybe it's a JCDC. Maybe we task the JCDC to go do that, and the JCDC
that was the original.
comes and reports to us, or whatever it
That's
is.
a great
So I
idea.
don't know exactly the what that is, but that's what I want to be focused. That's a priority of mine.
Okay.
So those are the 3 that I could think of that were actionable, that fall under expanding affordable housing. Because any one of them, I don't want people to take this the wrong way. I don't care. I don't really care about wastewater. I care about things that will enable affordable housing. And everybody has told me that that's what's going to enable it. So that's what I care
priority,
about.
not because I care about wastewater, because I
Right.
want it
Right.
will open this door.
Yep.
Right, and so if there's something else, and I've asked Chris this several times, I'm like, is this the right path? Like, is this the way to get it? And he's like, I think it is. It's like, okay, so, but that's why zoomed out one level, just because that's the main goal. If it turns out that's not gonna get us affordable housing, then I don't care about it anymore. The other one, community togetherness. So some of like what Peter's saying, finding ways to bring more people out, you know, you talked about that pizza thing they do at JES, the farmer's market. And, you know, as you were talking, I'm thinking, yeah, we can't let Underhill beat us on this stuff.
Right. That's how I feel. I'm like, God, they have a freaking food truck again.
Yeah, my sister goes to that food truck thing all the time. with
They have music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then my last priority is roads. I mean, we hear a lot about them. They're extremely important. They make up half our budget and they're important. So what do I say?
Yeah.
Well, this next one is a more specific thing that I'm going to bring up in Selectboard Updates. I do think we need to be in front of the Bridge 15 replacement. That's going to come fast.
Yeah.
We think about it all the time. We know it's coming. I guarantee, like I was talking to my aunt who lives on Fitzsimons Road. She had no idea it's coming. I'm like, okay, well, you're be getting some traffic.
Yeah,
So,
I thought about that, but I thought, well, it's already in the pipeline, but you're right.
We need
But
to
in
be
terms
like,
of like
on our end,
I
yeah.
mean, we're gonna shut it down, I think, the day after the 4th of July, and it's gonna
Yes.
be shut for blah, 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 and it's gonna be
Yeah.
impactful for,
Community notice. Absolutely. And they said longer, it's like 45 days now rather than a month or something like that.
yeah, and if it's gonna increase traffic on Barber Farm Road, we're canceling it. So those are my,
Okay,
those
those
are my
are good.
priorities and like at a higher level and some of the more specifics. So
What do you mean by, like you have for affordable housing, you're like, oh, need something. What do you mean by roads?
it's just a priority of maintaining our roads.
Right, so that's the one thing that I'm working with Jacob on is he's preparing, like working with Megan to come up with, like, we'll be handing you something, you'll see, here's the top priority of gravel roads that need to be addressed. One's high, one's medium, one's low, right? And you've got to work on the most high priority road first,
Yes.
right? Then the paving, Jacob had a paving analysis done of all the paved roads in Jericho. What's the most important paved road in Jericho that needs the attention? So all these things we're going to be putting, you'll be able to see, here's for gravel, here's for paved, and then the truck replacement plan, that'll get updated as well.
That's all part of your master.
Can I tell you that I was I spent 3 hours at Camel's Hump on town meeting day, because we had to count all MMU votes. I went for our town to go like do the counter. And I was there with Rich Reed, who's on the select board from Bolton. And damn it. We stole Jacob from Bolton.
Yeah.
And Rich was not.
No.
I said to him, he said, he told me he was leaving. I said, tell me what you need. We'll give you anything you want to stay. He said, no, sorry, I'm too late. I'm going. So I go where I want to be. So I'm just thrilled with Jacob and Rich is.
Yeah.
Me
Yeah.
too.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
I mean, the
love,
fact that he's taught that before any of us said anything, he and Paul are already talking about a report on all the roads and
Yes.
prioritizing. That tells
Yep.
me like that's ahead of it as opposed to like, oh,
Yep.
we have a sinkhole
Right.
on Skunk Hollow. What are we gonna do about that?
Right.
Being ahead of it.
Yep.
and
Yeah, that is.
I was chatting with Susan a couple weeks ago, and she mentioned, you know, she has a lot of really good ideas. And one reason, and probably why I put roads on here, one, because it's half of our budget, two, because we hear about them a lot.
Yep.
Yep.
And Susan had this idea of like, maybe you pre-populate some of your agendas with like, come complain about your road day, you know, and then and then you could be prepared for it, and you could
Yeah.
have, you know,
Like you
You
could
could
be
have Jacob
prepped
here,
and be
you
like,
could
this is what's
just
happening.
like, come on, it's like public to be heard, but it's like, come talk about your road. What do you know? And then you kind of contain some of that sporadicness
Random-
of
Right,
like,
having
not to
it-
say that they can't do it at another
Right,
meeting,
for
of course
sure,
they
for
can.
sure.
But
Yeah.
so I like that idea, and other things, like there's a lot of, like, we probably just need a Palmer Lane night, you know, like talk about, maybe not specific to Palmer Lane.
It's not Palmer
Come
Lane,
But Palmer.
it's Old Pump Road, the Palmers.
Palmer Maple. Palmer Maple on.
No, I've been corrected.
Yes,
Palmer Lane Maple.
right,
is the name.
yes.
Palmer Lane.
I had gotten corrected too.
Okay, PLN.
You know,
Or maybe it's a little less specific, right? And it's like, talk about,
Local businesses. or-
local
Mhm.
businesses that
mhm.
get constrained during creamy season, you know, something, you know?
Whoops.
That type of thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, I like that idea, to kind of like, you know, 'cause
Involve
sometimes
the-
our
the
meetings
people
can be
more.
very unpredictable, because sometimes we
Sure.
get 20 people in public to be
Right.
heard.
Yes.
And we had no idea,
Right,
and
That's
not,
true.
not to say that that shouldn't happen, of course, that's why we're here, but like,
right.
you could kind of use it to
Structure
plan
it.
a little bit, maybe
Mhm.
you put less stuff on that night
Yep.
or whatever.
Yep, yep.
So I like that.
But I'm glad to hear what Jacob was doing because, you know, when we had the master transportation plan done in 2015, one of the.
He had that, right? Like we had the documents, he was giving them to me and he's like, look at this, is all this.
Yeah, that's why I think we, you know, an update is great.
Yep.
But at the same time, because they were, doing an extra deal at the RPC, trying out something new, is that they were also giving you a table of roads and priorities,
Mhm.
prioritizing.
Yep.
And, you know, and it's, some of it is counterintuitive. You don't spend all your money on a bad road. You let the bad road go bad.
I remember you saying that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have this list that we all kind of each spewed out. What do you guys think is the best way to make that actionable? I don't think all of those things can be our priority for the next
Well, some of
20.
them
Well, what if we did like a little
Okay.
chart and you put 1, 2, or 3, like each go through, like print this out and have 1, 2, or 3, like what's your first, you know,
Well, I
I don't know,
think
then
some of
coming
them
compiling them.
is related, and mine is more like, you know, specific task, specific date.
I think it seems like a lot of Catherine's are
Yeah,
one agenda.
Yeah.
The three
Whereas
things.
Yeah, like the
yours are
30
Several agenda items. and
Right,
mine are maybe
right.
too broad to, you know.
Yeah.
no, I don't think they are.
I mean, I wonder if we step back and approach it from we've got whatever, say, call it 24 meetings,
Mhm.
and maybe you two as the chair and the town administrator, or all of whatever, I'm happy to be a part of whatever, sort of lay out 24 pieces of paper, or 24 half sheets of paper, and begin to just, and like, okay, so out of the gate, we know that in October, we're
Yep.
doing budget stuff, so maybe we have
Mhm.
budget there and there, and put the schedule of how that's gonna happen, and then begin to slot things in here, which things are time sensitive. Like, my vision for the wastewater thing was like, maybe the second meeting every month, Chris comes in and says, here's where
Gives
things
you
are
an
at.
update.
Here's,
Mhm.
here's where we're at, here's what's next, and here's what we need from you, or we need nothing from you.
I think that, yeah, I had a almost exact, like every other meeting, we have it as a line item, even if there's no update, but then people know we're gonna at least
Well,
say where we're at with it.
And that doesn't take very long then, but
It
you're.
might not,
Right.
right? You're updating and
Yep,
it's on the agenda.
Yep.
And it'll feel like, it's like a management trick too, right?
Right, exactly.
Right, like,
Gotta have something to
so
say.
you're coming to me again this week and you get nothing? Okay,
Right,
cool.
right.
You know, eventually they don't come with nothing, you know?
Exactly.
Okay,
okay,
so I like that. I like the idea of kind of stacking them all up, taking
yeah,
a guess at how
Yes.
long they are, starting
Yeah.
to pre-populate the meetings, not set them in stone
No,
except
but
for the
just-
next one.
Right, right,
And
but
then,
just, so you
um,
don't lose track of, like, oh crap,
Right.
it's November, we totally forgot, we haven't, we gotta put
and
four
that will
things
help us
down.
with even though I knew it was coming, I still felt rushed with the budget again, you know, and.
yeah, it seems like we've got to come up with a really good, like, system for
Yeah.
the budget. Like,
Yes,
it's got to be better,
Yeah.
because it's like this half in, half out kind of where we are, and
Yeah,
the budget
I think we
definitely
can start
needs to
thinking
be
about it, like,
addressed.
in August, because
Yes.
all of a sudden, August is over in 2 meetings. And then it's like,
Exactly.
then we're gonna have the first TMRI meeting, and then all of a sudden,
Yeah, the kickoff was typically thought was October, because you get.
Now, are they gonna do a kickoff every year, or
I
is it
think
more
that
or
they-
less just the
They are,
TMR?
No, they are, because
Yeah, yeah.
I'm gonna mess it up, but my memory is that at that first meeting, like, Jim Carroll was supposed to walk in and say like, hey, I wanna put this public question out there.
Mhm.
Can people here give
Okay.
me feedback on that?
Yeah.
Let me know what you think, because I might wanna put this on the ballot, or I might wanna put this in front of the select board at
Yep.
the town meeting reimagined, like in the auditorium.
Yep,
I think the plan was that every year has those 3 meetings.
Okay,
The
okay.
first one being a chance for public to tell us,
Yep.
here's what we want you working on this year.
yep,
And I, individual citizen, have this thing I want to make happen. For example, probably the guy who did the Bernie.
right,
Yeah.
Probably should have done 30K thing at that first meeting.
Oh,
I'm gonna be
absolutely.
asking
Right.
For this.
right,
That would be a
right,
lot
right.
easier
So
Yeah.
for everybody.
sort of like that's the, I think three
Okay,
things happen every
okay,
year.
yep,
Sorry,
okay.
what's 3 meetings?
I thought too, me too.
It's the.
I'm sorry, the last thing is the budget, is the vote, the Australian ballot.
Oh, okay,
Sorry,
okay, okay,
I was thinking about
okay,
the
I was
three
with you
events
too.
of the budget.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Pre-meeting,
Mhm.
the voting meeting, and then the vote.
Yep, I'm with you.
Okay, okay.
I'll take that as the next action. I guess we need to, probably we need to discuss and agree is, are there priorities that any individual of us brought up, that the other two don't agree with? That's probably the tough conversation. I don't know about the rec committee. I like the idea of getting more people out. I don't know if that's the right way to do it. All of your priorities, I guess I would probably rate that one last, not because I don't care about the goal, but I don't know, like I've heard Catherine say, we've tried to get a committee going a couple times, and it hasn't worked, which is
Mhm.
not a reason to not do it, but
Right.
But it's also,
but it is a fact. yeah.
right.
The rest,
But
the capital budget doesn't particularly excite me. But it probably is important, so I agree with that one, and, the wastewater, I think we're all agreed wastewater is our
Yeah,
biggest
well,
challenge for this
that's
year. I think it seems like we're all in agreement, every other meeting, we're gonna have Riverside wastewater
Yeah, updates,
as a
updates,
agenda
yep.
item, whatever that might be.
I think, for me, I think the affordable housing, one is a huge one.
Yeah, and so I don't know what else falls under that one, and
Yeah, I mean.
like I said,
Well, we
when I
have a
was-
meeting. How about I miss it? We have a meeting with the planning commission.
Next week.
No, not,
we're gonna cancel it.
Oh.
Sorry, yeah, and Susan called me, 2 of her members and Chris all of a sudden came up with conflicts that day. So we're gonna reschedule it. Susan and I are gonna meet. But she really didn't want to do it with being down 2 team members.
Right.
And I really didn't want to do it. without
Right,
Chris. So
right,
yeah, that's
right,
all.
2 of us
exactly.
decided to-
What I was
Yeah.
gonna say was that would be a time to say to them, like our select board, who respectfully you work for, we're saying we need things happening faster. We need you to think about your process, and we don't want to rush you, want you to have your process, but we need your process to be moving faster. And we're frustrated with how long things are taking, and.
I think they all need to hear that.
Different.
Yeah,
Right.
but they all need to hear that, yeah, for sure, for sure.
A little more, a little less caution and a
Yep.
little more move fast and break things.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, for sure.
So that would be, I was gonna say, that would be a move on affordable housing, would be to say to them like, hey, listen, we've identified this as one of our priorities, the select
Right.
board.
Yep.
And we're being respectful of your process and you're taking the lead on this, we need it to happen fast.
Mhm, mhm,
Yeah.
mhm, mhm.
Yeah, well,
Or
we
you asked the question, like what would be a reasonably expeditious timeline that works for you? And then talk about,
Yeah.
if you're thinking 2 years and we were thinking 2 months, we've got a major problem.
Yeah.
Let's figure that out.
Exactly.
yeah, somewhere there's a compromise.
Yeah,
There has to be some sort of understanding too, with that kind of thing is like when you're working with a committee, so many people have different ideas and different, like,
Yeah,
oh, let's go
right.
this way, let's go this way, let's go that way. So there's so many things thrown at you. There's gotta be, no, we know that, but this is gonna push things through faster if you stick with what we're doing and moving. Because everything can be addressed at a certain time, but there is things that need to be like, you gotta keep going with it.
Well, I think that's, because there's so many people with some great ideas that.
Yes, it's kind of challenging, yeah.
And, and it's taken a very long time for that bylaw modernization grant.
Well, I gave them a deadline in June and that's it. I said, that's it.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah,
We're not
I
doing it.
expect-
Yes,
That's
we're
all
not
that happens.
doing,
One week's
we're not
expected
going any
3
further. So finish it.
years. Yeah.
okay, so, sounds like the plan is we'll get all these to Paula. Paula and I will meet sometime between now and the next meeting and take a stab at kind of
Yeah.
ordering them
Mm-hmm.
in sort of a sequence and, seeing how they look into select board agendas.
Mhm.
Are we good with that?
Like you'll take whatever it is, 22 agendas and kind of fill
Yep.
them in and say like,
Yep.
here's our first shot at it.
Right.
What problems do you see, what makes sense, and we can.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
and
'cause
maybe let's try to find a way
other
to keep
things are
that
happening along the way
visible
too. Yeah.
somewhere for everybody.
You guys should have had,
You did send me that spreadsheet. I was
Mhm.
thinking about that as I was doing
The
this.
spreadsheet with tasks.
Yeah,
You know, there's
No,
so many things on
it's-
that spreadsheet, it's, you know.
maybe that's part of the problem. Maybe it needs to be a little smaller.
yeah, it probably does, but if you look,
There's a lot of
see
that
if I
stuff
can pull
there.
it up. See, I have this in here, and I think I shared it with you guys.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
So
you did that.
You can go through and populate whatever you want, and just
Mhm.
kind of go through each one. And
Yeah, we'll use this as the, since
Okay.
it's already built, we can just use it.
right, and put it wherever you need to. And
Is that March 20th today? Like that's
Yes,
this year right here?
that's today. Yep. Yep. And it just kind of goes down through, when we put all these, it's not like these are set in stone, but they're things that we put up there. And, yep. Yep.
Where if it doesn't happen on this day, what day is it gonna happen on?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. So, yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for humoring me in that discussion. I
Well,
think that
Eric,
was
thank you
helpful.
for asking that question and putting that in front of us, because I think that's exactly why I got.
Yeah.
Select board was not to approve liquor licenses, although I love liquor licenses. But that's not why I got in the select board.
Eric likes them too, as long as they're expired.
And with that, the next item on our agenda is,
Can we have some public input on your priorities?
I'll take a very brief one, 30 seconds. You don't have to come up, just, oh God. Is it a-
I'll walk up.
Oh,
I didn't know.
man.
In a former life, I did the computer resource strategy for Cigna.
Mhm.
Organize around the work to be done. I observed that Jericho does not have an executive process. We don't do advisability, we don't do feasibility, we don't do detailed specs, we don't do implementation, we don't have loopbacks as we encounter problems in our 4 steps, and policies and practices to guide people to make it easier. And today, we can use prototypes, we can use technology. A person who has a complaint can be directed to an HDMI video spot and let them vent. And then whoever's priority that is each morning, that drops off and you send that to Jacob. This road is a problem. They broke the axle on their truck. So many ways that you can exploit technology and process to get a tremendous amount of work done. The public has just told you they want a 5-member select board. That will allow.
They want to vote on the 5-member select board. I'm
Okay.
not landing there until.
I understand, but the bottom line is.
They have to give the vote.
People want to vote on it.
The law told you that you two cannot work together.
Right.
One of you has to go talk to Paula, Paula has to talk to Eric.
Sure.
Totally inefficient.
Mhm.
2 people can sit down and talk about, what are we going to do about this? You've got a great opportunity to increase efficiency if you get on board, plan with it, and look for the skills and the capability of the people. Organize around the work to be done. Who is
I think that's
the
what we're saying. I
expert?
think
Who
that's
is
what
the
we're saying.
expert
Mhm.
amongst this group on infrastructure? Who is the expert amongst this group on financing, on opportunity costs and present value? So if you build, I love all of you, but you need to be more and you need to be organized differently. So organizational updates, I suggest integrating economic development, affordable housing, and the planning commission. Everything in Jericho is silos. They all stand alone and then, oh my God, we got to go talk to them. They should be integrated loops. The information should be being passed back and forth, and it should be an organizational approach. The planning commission is out dealing with something that can't possibly happen until 2028. They're polishing pebbles and herding cats. In the meantime, you got people on Raceway who are concerned that you can't have a bike ped. Everybody in town put it in the town plan. We want to be able to walk. We want to be safe. I walked over there with the people. You need to have a 25-mile-an-hour speed limit in that area. People are insane. Not everyone, but 1 or 2, and you can tell them first. They either drive a car that doesn't feel bumps, or they drive a car that doesn't care because the driver doesn't feel bumps.
Yeah.
But I mean, people went by us at 40 miles an hour while 2 of us are walking in the road. So I'm just saying to you, adopt an executive process, pull the wastewater together. And right now you got a great opportunity. Catherine, I think, said some of the stuff at A&R is getting stalled. If you establish a municipal wastewater approach, we can exempt projects from Act 250 and move housing forward.
We
The 9
we are
houses-
working hard at trying to increase our speed, and I do appreciate the comments.
What I can say to you is I've watched all these committees and all of the vendors. Every single vendor should be reviewed by this town at no more than 24 months to see whether they've met the objectives of the town, whether they're competitive and they're doing the job. And I can assure you, you'll get a lot more done in less time if you adopt a different process, use technology and exploit it, and look at how to organize around the work to be done.
Thank you.
And I would put a public works committee, you got affordable housing, all the bugs and the salamanders and the turtles all feel very safe in Jericho, but the kids and the money, because all the money gets spent on roads, it's the way they're being maintained without the right equipment.
Okay,
All right.
time for approved liquor licenses, the annual renewals.
Yeah, you can just read off the top, the memo list if you want.
Me?
I don't know
I'd like to make a
who.
Motion to approve liquor licenses for the following organizations: Lucian Howe, DBA Jericho LMB, Pine Martin LLC, doing business as Stonesboro Pizza, AGS Vermont Incorporated, doing business as Jericho Market, Griffin Riders LLC, DBA Jericho Cafe and Tavern, Matruc Corporation, DBA Mountain High Pizza Pie, CMB Holdings LLC, doing business as Chittenden Mills Beverage, and Kate's LLC, doing business as Kate's Food Truck.
I'll second that one.
All those in favor say aye.
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 I make a motion to approve the Dollar General DG Retail, including DBA doing business as Dollar General, with the condition that the town receives the payment first.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 One more.
No,
No.
it says hold on.
Is that one she wants us to hold off on, I think.
Not approved at this time. Okay,
There's
perfect.
also. Oh,
Where's that?
it's on the third. Right?
It's the,
I don't know.
it's the stores, yeah, so like under, trying to think of a store.
Lucy Howe and Brewing Company, Lucy and Howe Brewing Company?
No, so like AGS is Jericho Market, is that right?
Yep.
So they also have a tobacco license.
Gotcha. Okay,
And then-
I make a motion to approve, if I do this wrong, strike it from the record. Make a motion to approve a tobacco license for the following organizations: AGS Vermont Incorporated, doing business as Jericho Market, CMB Holdings LLC, doing business as Chittenden Mills Beverage, CMB Holdings.
That's a tobacco substitute.
Okay, we'll hold off on that one then. That's it.
No,
I
there's
think
the
there's there was one more.
Dollar General,
Oh, yeah, Dollar General.
Where is it?
in the black.
Actually,
This is hard to read.
yeah, it's the first one. Well,
Oh, okay, and DG Retail LLC, doing business as Dollar General, number 14356.
Okay,
and do we have a second on that motion?
Second that.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I'd like to make a motion to approve a tobacco substitute endorsement for CMB Holdings LLC, doing business with Chittenden Mills Beverage. And
I think that's it.
that's it.
Second that.
Question for you. Are you making a motion about something that you have no idea what you're talking about? What's the tobacco substitute?
Vapes, baby. You teach high school, you know what vapes are.
Oh my God, he did.
But it's still tobacco, isn't it?
No, it's not.
There's, there's separate licenses.
Do you need a
Vapes,
license
baby.
to smoke something or vape, whatever, even if it doesn't have the stuff in it?
It has tobacco in it.
It has
Does
nicotine
No, that's
in it.
Nicotine.
Not tobacco.
Right, exactly.
Oh,
Nicotine.
okay, so it's still got the bad stuff,
Got
not
the
the
bad
horrid,
stuff,
not the
but not-
horrid stuff. Okay, sorry about that. All those in favor say aye.
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 And we need to do first class and second class licenses.
Well,
It's all covered.
Unless you just want to include it all as liquor licenses,
Right.
because they're all renewals, they're
Okay.
nothing new for
Okay.
last year.
Great, done.
Thank you, Jessica. Select Board approves all your liquor, except with the exception of the one that had not, submitted.
Yes.
Clarity.
I also have a question about 7 o'clock public comment, must have been done earlier than 7.
Yes.
Yes.
No, it was later.
It was later. We
It was
did,
later,
we did,
actually.
yeah.
We did the audit first.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, because I came in at 7,
Yeah, because we were doing the audit, right?
and you were on you were on the priorities,
Jessica came in after public comment. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we didn't do
but
public
it
comment.
must
first.
have started before 7.
It probably did.
Yeah, probably did.
So I do have a public comment.
Okay.
item.
Go ahead.
You can't say
I
okay.
can't say,
Eric's
okay,
okay.
Yeah, that, I wondered about how we do that with the, like, those public hearings are tough
Yeah.
to schedule around because
They
take like
are,
20 minutes. or
exactly.
an hour.
Yep, it's so hard to judge the timing.
Yeah. So anyway, go ahead.
And it sounds like you may have already talked about it. So yesterday, the petition was received for the 3 to 5. Increasing the select board from 3 to 5.
I'm not familiar with this petition.
This, on the back of this is a sample of the petition, and this is a cover letter that was received with the petition.
I'll need a copy as well.
Yep.
Perfect. Perfect.
So on the small copy.
Oh, so they count, so 7:24.
Yeah, so they, Sarah McLeod is sort of the representative of the group that submitted the petition. And, no, I actually don't have a copy of the cover letter, but on the cover letter, if you look at the sample petition, it was just one sentence with no timeline in it, and basically just 3 to 5. That is a valid petition, because we I asked about that earlier on.
Mhm.
Their initial intent was to get the signatures before town meeting, so that it would be a town meeting. But, the 15% threshold was because of the charter, not because of the statute was only 5%.
Yeah.
right.
But the Jericho Town Charter, the other piece in the Jericho Town Charter is we can, if we're at 3, we can go to 5, but we can also go back from 5 to 3.
With the same.
And in
petition.
the statute, this talks about increasing select board members, so I don't know how other towns might be able to go back.
Oh, they will go back.
And I also submitted a question to, Vermont League of Cities and Towns after the front porch forum posts that said that they were gonna be turning the petition in. And just to find out, so we definitely, the other piece in the charter is that the vote is by Australian ballot, so it wouldn't have mattered with what happened with voting, yes,
Right.
no public questions by Australian ballot, because our charter says that increasing select board members is an Australian ballot
Right.
vote. So it's definitely gonna be an Australian ballot vote. The threshold was 646 signatures, and it's 724, I think,
They're all
on
valid.
there that were counted.
You confirmed they're all valid.
Yeah, so, with the help of, Peter Booth came in yesterday afternoon, and
Peter.
Kathy Paris.
No,
I want those results.
yeah, we
So we,
recount.
and there we did check for duplicates, and there were duplicates. There was actually one person that signed it 3 times,
Why?
Wow.
and,
Say Peter.
and then, Kathy Paris and David Barrington came in this morning to finish it up, so, it is.
So my understanding is the select board has now, because we've received it, is this our receipt or is the receipt of when they
To
hand
the
it
town
you?
clerk's office,
To the
so
town clerk.
yesterday,
So we have 60 days from yesterday
so
to
this,
warn it,
yeah,
and then we have another 30, and that warning, after that warning, we have to have a vote within 30, between
No.
30 and
After.
45 days.
I have a little, this,
No sooner than 30 and no less, between the 10-day window.
So here,
Between 30 and
in front
45.
of you.
yeah, so,
Close to.
Number 2.
the earliest. So
We have 60 days to warn it, technically, was the VLCT thing.
Right. So you have to sign the warning by May 18th. And then, so if the warning is signed on April 3rd, this is in the little box. The meeting would be no sooner than Saturday, May 3rd, and no later than May 13th. That's saying if it was signed April 3rd.
So,
then-
can I
Yeah.
just pause you for a minute? Could we put this on the next agenda so that people that are interested in this have a chance to see it on the agenda and show up and talk about it? We still have plenty of time because we have 60 days to warn it. So I'd like this as an agenda item for next week, our next meeting, because we've got a lot of stuff to like logistics to work out, which I'm sure you're already thinking about. And I'd rather have those discussed at a warn, where the items warn.
Right, yeah, this is more just informational for you.
Yeah, it just hurts to hear. So,
Yes, I mean, it's,
So if we meet on, if we talk about it on the 3rd
It's gonna,
and warn it,
Yeah.
and then he will be here, then we could warn it.
well, I think, yeah, who knows what would come out of that, but
Right.
perhaps out of the 3rd says, okay, we're gonna officially warn it on May 10th, and then sometime, because we can time the election when we want it to be because once you warn it, you have that 10-day
Window,
window.
right.
So at that meeting, I'd like to talk about when to warn it,
Yeah.
how to do the election, what happens after. There's like a bunch of weird things that
Yeah.
happen after.
Yeah.
Like whether it's appointed, whether you hold a second election.
Right.
Or like, there's just some things that I want to understand of how that might go.
well, you don't want to have everything during the Memorial Day holiday either. Yeah.
Right.
Right,
We
so I
probably
wanna
think
just think about
about how we want it
Right.
to play out and then work backwards from there.
Mm.
Yeah.
When school.
but if you wait until after April 3rd to warn it, it will be later than May 13th. The vote will be later than May 13th.
Certainly will.
Which could be.
It certainly will be later than May 13th. I don't want to warn it.
Yeah, the earliest possible would be if the warning was signed at the next select board meeting. So May 13th was, that's,
So we could warn it.
Is there a reason you keep saying May 13th? Did you want it on May 13th for some reason?
well, that's the other thing. So it doesn't have to be a Tuesday, but Tuesdays is sort of a common time for an election.
But sometimes you could have it on a Saturday.
But it's, yeah, it's not mandated
Mhm.
that it be
You
on
could
a
actually have a
Tuesday.
Mhm.
Sunday.
I don't think you want it the Tuesday after Memorial Day.
No.
And I don't know that you want it in June if we're holding it at the high school. The petition gatherers, I don't think it says it in their cover letter, but they were hoping to have it, they were hoping that the vote would be before Memorial Day. But as you said, you can
Yeah.
put it as an agenda item for comment.
Yes, we have to really think because I think in June, while kids are still in school, makes a little bit of sense, but, or, like.
There's a lot of people to vote, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of people to be able to vote
Or
on
the end of the school year
Yeah,
is I think
I
important.
don't think it needs to be rushed, and
No.
we have 60 days to warn it. So
Yeah.
I'm not saying you need to use 59 and a half days, but like, we don't need to decide right now. Thank you.
Yep.
That said, I would say that 60 days is really, like, I think it makes total sense to meet on the 3rd and warn it and have that conversation publicly about it. And then, so now the next meeting is the 17th or 17th. Now we're 30 days out. Like, we're already halfway through those 60 days. We need to not get caught. Oh crap, we need to have a special meeting to warn.
Right, yeah,
this
I think, but I think even with that, I think we still have plenty of time.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
third, like,
That's
2 meetings out is still 30 days, like, that gives us 2 more meetings, and I think, yeah, I think it'll be fine.
as you said, that kids would figure out whether it's Saturday
Right.
night draw more people or.
Okay, sorry about messing
Nope.
up the time for public to be heard.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing that in.
You get all the numbers, everything came out right, so it was good.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Okay. The next item is something we talked briefly about this at a select board meeting in select board updates. I asked to put this one on, this topic on, and I will just read through what I have and what I would like to do, or I would like us to consider as a board. I think we need to consider as a board, changing the name of our DEI committee.
Yeah, okay, anything with the word, I mean, even the disability in it is being not there anymore.
Yeah, there are, I work with a company who does government contracting, and there's a lot of things that, that we are being asked to do, as their software vendor on some things. And so I happen to know of certain words that are,
Triggers.
that are not allowed.
Yeah.
They're not allowed, in a government thing. Now, we're allowed to do
Oh,
it.
I see what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, so with that, I don't want to, my hope is that this is not gonna be, a huge deal. I would like what I have in mind, and I hope that we can get to something like this. I want to keep the mission exactly the same. I want to keep the goal exactly the same, and I literally just want to change the title of the committee. And I want to know what you guys think about that. And for this one,
Well, that's basically.
we're not opening it to the public, but I did ask, Maria Rinaldi, who's the head of the DEI committee. I did invite her, so I
I
would.
don't see Maria on, but I see Beth and Susan.
She's on.
Beth-
I saw her.
Oh, you did?
I love her.
Maria is on now, yeah.
Yep, there we go.
I just signed on. I'm sorry for being late. I just signed on.
No worries.
Oh, you're fine.
Your perfect time.
But that's exactly what the RPC changed the name.
Oh, they did. I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah, RPC changed the name of their, that committee to a different one.
Okay.
But the intent is still pretty much the same, and that's their mission and things like that. But it's, because they didn't think the government would go further down beyond the name.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, but like we,
don't know.
but and
I guess that would be my question for Maria and Beth and anybody else who's here from, no, Sue Casper's also here from the DEI committee is what they're feeling. I agree, like our school did it too. Our school changed our DEI program, just the title. So I'm interested in their thoughts and then what they think about changing any of the language, like the literal words in the mission they have, what their thoughts are.
Before we discuss this, what was the name you were suggesting we change
we hadn't
to?
got there. I did write down a couple, but I welcome my committee members to say theirs first.
I hadn't even thought about what the name other than what the RPC had.
Or the RPC.
Oh, it was part of the community engagement advisory committee. I think that's what it ended up being. I have to look.
That's good. Did you have any ideas, Peter?
Now I'm looking to see what our school changed it to. If they found some.
I came up with two. I don't love them. I came up with welcoming committee and welcome committee. Those are the two.
Oh my God.
Those are two different names.
Very,
that's cool.
very different, thoughtful ideas that I was able to come to.
I think Maria has strong feelings. So, and she's the founder of this committee, so I'd like to hear from her.
I'm actually not the founder of the committee, and I don't know if it was clarified, but we don't have like a head of the committee. We have a different chair each month, so we try to keep it equitable. So yeah, just in terms of my feelings, I wanted to know if the reason why this was coming about was because we have been told we have to change, or is this something that we're just doing in case, like are we doing it in reaction to something, or are we doing it preemptively? I wasn't quite sure.
I'll tell you why I personally added it to the agenda. I want to protect our committee members from potential harassment or discrimination. And I want to protect our town from missing out on government grant opportunities.
Mhm.
Those are literally my two reasons. Nobody asked us to do it. It's just something I want to make sure that I don't want anyone that's on a committee being targeted by some of the craziness that's going on in our national politics right now. And I don't want us to lose out on opportunities because somebody going in to look at a grant goes to the website first and does a quick search and or probably has AI do it, does a quick little search and go, if you find this word, then they're gonna, I mean, that's literally the
Yep,
type of stuff that
That's
they're
what's
doing. Like
happening. Mhm.
the new, I don't want to get too much into national politics because it's upsetting. But there is not really a mandate, but a hint from the Doge people. They want to see a lot of AI. So they want to see AI doing a lot of stuff. So I can totally envision a program where they would say, okay, Jericho, Vermont's applying for a grant. Boom, AI, go check their website, do a quick
Yep.
scrub of it, pull out, look for these words. And I don't want to scrub every possible
Mhm,
word because
mhm.
it's not possible. There's, the list is really long.
But that's how they've been using
Yes.
AI.
But that's what that's the
All
kind of
the
stuff that
grants
they're
are
doing.
doing now. Absolutely.
So my goal is to just, go ahead.
How do you feel about the Declaration of Inclusion that everybody has taken and posted for their
And
towns?
that's the beginning of the website.
Yeah.
That's the first thing on the website, top of the page.
It
Top
is.
of top of the homepage.
I think,
Declaration included.
I think we leave the declaration language as it is and we change the name of it to
Because inclusion,
Jericho's welcoming message. I don't know, like.
because inclusion is one of the words they don't like.
I don't know that we can, like, it won't be possible to meet all of that. I don't really want to go in and change the actions that the committees are doing, but I think at least let's not have it as the main title. The Declaration of Inclusion is tough because we spent a lot of time on that. We logged it with the state, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I stand by it 100%. But I don't know, we could call it something else.
Have Maria and other folks who are here, have you guys thought about this at all?
Anybody?
I mean,
Go ahead.
you go, because I've been doing a lot of talking. You go ahead.
No, I mean, we talked about it via email between us. I mean, we certainly don't want to change the mission. And I have to say, we have posters out talking about bringing a film about people who are living paycheck to paycheck to our community. And we said DEI committee on the poster. I haven't done it online yet because I wanted to wait for this discussion, but I just kind of wonder whether we're really going to forward off some of the stuff that's going to happen by changing one or two words. And we're also sending a message that we don't believe in it, sort of, or that we're not standing for it. That's kind of the way I feel. Although I love the idea of a welcoming committee. We were talking about it in our committee meeting, like maybe we should be like the welcome wagon. Maybe that would help our cause, but.
Yeah, I don't like any of this.
No.
I would just offer that at the University of Vermont, which, there's lots of people there who have, their jobs are to navigate what's happening and how that intersects with the university. And they've gone across the university in their documents and changed everything to the committee I'm on is the Committee on Inclusive Excellence. So again, it's a university and there's a lot of connections with grant funding and subsidies and things like that. So they were definitely wanting to be proactive on it. And that was their strategy. I think there was different, as Beth mentioned, different perceptions about whether or not that is the right thing to do. It is from a financial and resource aspect, but there were a lot of individuals who also felt that it was that we need to make a stance like that. We don't agree with it. And so there was people on both sides of the camp, but they have changed all of their language. Instead of DEI or social justice has all been inclusive excellence.
And just for the other side of the coin, I work at St. Michael's College, and we are actually staying strong and sticking with the DEI and not getting rid of it at all, because we say it speaks to the social teaching of the Amended mission. So And there are lawsuits out there right now, fighting back against it, so they feel like they're in a strong position to be able to keep the name. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, I think there's lots of discussions on both sides of it. My position is I wouldn't change it. I do not feel endangered. I'm not worried for myself, but I also know that I am a committee that answers to the select board, and I will follow whatever the select board comes up with.
Thank you for the comments. I wanted to have the discussion. I don't know what the right thing to do is. I'm certainly not an expert in these new times, but it's just something that I thought we needed to discuss. I'm not gonna, my feelings are gonna be hurt either way. I just wanted to make sure that we know that we're thinking about it, and I do think it's our job to protect the committee members and our town.
And for the RPC, it was also economic, that 60% of their income comes from federal government.
Wow.
Because all the UPWP projects
So-
are funded by the Federal Highway Administration.
So do we get federal money, or like, do the feds ever look at it? The feds ever say yes or no to Jericho, or they just say yes or no to Chittenden County? And then Chittenden County, CCRPC says yes to Jericho.
So
It's a little bit of both.
I think it's both, but
Mhm.
for an example is the old mill repair grant was a federal grant.
Mhm.
And so,
It's gone.
well, it's gone now anyway.
Right,
but- but
still,
in that
yeah,
case,
exactly.
I might guess how they
Yep.
might rule. I don't know. Or maybe they don't. Maybe they won't like go down to that level of looking at every town,
It
but
kind of sounds like it.
It's hard to say.
I don't know.
I mean, the way they're looking at federal grants,
Yeah.
and even things that have the word female.
No.
What,
It's
I mean,
really
for,
ridiculous.
like FEMA,
Oh, yeah.
I don't,
FEMA's been-
Right, Dana's.
right?
yeah, FEMA's a federal, yeah, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's a,
But FEMA's a target now too.
yeah, it's a roll of the dice.
I guess where I'm at personally is that I think we need to change the name of the committee. And given that I doubt there's gonna be human beings looking at our website, it's gonna be a computer looking at our website. I
Mhm.
wonder if we should, I don't know, I can't even say it. You like change the language of the mission, but
Mhm.
I don't know.
No, yeah, that's hard to say.
I mean, it's called the welcoming committee, and then like the
Right,
statement of inclusion probably has like 35 red flag words.
But maybe
And
they're
our-
just looking.
Our charter as well, we also have a charter.
But
Yeah.
maybe they just looking at the thing that says welcoming committee, you go, oh, no, that's, the welcome wagon and the little gifts of,
Mhm,
people coming to town.
mhm.
And they don't bother to look at the mission, but it's the Declaration of Inclusion.
Martha has
At
a
the time, we
question.
formally condemn discrimination in all of its forms and commit to fair and equal treatment of everyone in our community. That is now apparently a radical statement.
It's pretty radical.
The
Yeah,
human
it's
beings
like-
that will look at our website will be the people we're trying to welcome. So there's also that. I mean,
Yeah,
it is important to consider that an inclusion policy, we want that to be out front so that we're welcoming, but
I guess I think that it's going to be impossible to scrub our website of all of the things, and I don't know that that's a smart plan.
No.
But I do think that if it was just a quick high level thing, do they have a DEI committee?
Yeah.
And you can say the word no. Does it make I don't know, maybe it makes a 1% of a difference, maybe it doesn't make any difference because it's deeper into the website, but I really don't know.
That's the problem.
I don't know, but I just think welcoming committee sounds
Welcoming.
welcoming. Even if underneath it, you're talking about all the things that, that seem to be triggers for
Martha has her hands up.
very small people. Yeah, I was trying to not do public comment
Right.
for, other than the DEI committee, but Martha, I would take a quick, a quick comment, but we're trying to restrict public comment to the public to be heard section, but go ahead, Martha, real quick.
Okay, so I'm hearing from the committee that they're pretty content with what they've come up with and kind of feel that the quality of that is that they should be able to remain as the DEI. And I'm not sure that that makes a difference because you can change the letters, you can, turn it to IED, you can do whatever. But, this is call it a cat. That this is the DEI and that's a cat. You can change the letters and go ahead and say, okay, so it's a dog. It still remains a cat and they're still pushing for their own equity. And I think that they should be able to. I don't think that they should be afraid of standing up for what they've been standing up for all of these years. I don't think changing the name is fair. I think it's a bait and switch.
I hear your comment. Thank you.
That's an interesting point. Makes it tough. Committee seems to, feel that things like DEI. But I don't know, but, as you said, we have no idea what it means in our already.
I would personally like to think about it for 2 weeks before doing anything.
Okay. That's
just me.
Would you like it as an agenda item next week or next meeting?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in charge.
No, I'm just asking.
This is why I think, I think that we need to make a decision one way or the other. We need to, and that means the agenda item. So yeah, I think an agenda item next week to decide about protecting our town from executive orders.
Okay.
Great.
All right, we will punt to next meeting because this is a really tough decision.
Right, exactly.
And appreciate it. Appreciate the discussion. Thank you.
All right.
All right, we are at Select Board Updates. Thank you for joining us, both from the DEI committee, Maria. I appreciate it. Beth, everyone. Select Board Updates.
I have, you guys have in front of you the letter from the Planning Commission about the wastewater committee, which will be on the April 3rd agenda, recommending committee members for this.
Recommend to us.
This letter, they will be at the April 3rd meeting. Down below is what they've kind of come up with of members, how.
Type of members.
Yep. So that will be on the April 3rd to form that committee.
So I had that, so we don't repeat, I was gonna do mine last, but I had that on my Select Board update. So yeah, that there was an expectation that we were supposed to do that tonight, blah, blah, blah. It's not on the agenda tonight. And I didn't realize that we were supposed to have it. But what I'd like to propose that we do is that we not lose a meeting for that and that we put forming a wastewater committee on the next agenda. And we're ready to populate it with people. I kind of thought in my discussion with Susan, I guess I kind of thought that these 4 bullets would be names.
Coming from Susan.
Yeah. Like their titles, they're more like title.
Yeah.
You thought it would say
like
Catherine
Peter
McMahon.
Booth and blah, 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 yeah. So I think that's, and because I think the Planning Commission and Chris, I think we're just kind of sad to lose those 2 weeks or whatever. So I was just trying to find a way to like not really lose a meeting.
I'm confused about what you're saying about
like we form the committee and you say, all right, should we form a committee? We decide in a public session and we do it at the
simultaneously
at a thing and we say, yes, we're gonna do it, or no, we're not. And if we decide yes, then we say, okay, next agenda item is, I want to appoint Jessica.
Who is
blah,
the
blah, blah,
people
blah,
on
and
the?
You just do it, you just do
Oh,
it
and so-
instead of
Right, so-
doing a committee.
Yeah,
and then-
He was
Right.
saying that they were supposed to be on this agenda, but I told Linda not to put it on this agenda for
We
tonight.
can't make the committee today, so let's do it two
Yes.
first.
if you called me
Right,
yesterday,
and she
she's like,
was-
can we get it on? I'm like,
I got you.
we're not supposed to, but let's try to,
Right.
I'm trying to like find a way to.
To not waste 2 weeks.
Yes,
move it.
yep,
So yeah, that makes sense to next agenda to
forming the
form the
committee
task
and.
force and populate it.
Mhm.
Okay, anyway, go ahead for the
Okay.
rest of you.
The only other thing I need you all to sign this. It's for the local emergency management plan. It's not for it's to be active that Linda and myself can post on the alerts of any kind of emergency that's happening in Jericho
Post where?
onto their website, in which that in
Oh.
turn goes out
The
to,
whole world.
yeah. So yes, so you all need to sign
This
that.
says it just says select board chair.
Okay, go. That
Actually,
is
select
you.
board chair, comma, town manager or mayor. Can I circle mayor?
Oh,
when I-
boy. Yes, you can. Yes.
You can add, you put comma king. That the photo of your face.
Right?
That's right. It was great.
Shoot.
Well, lost my train of thought. Oh, my gosh. That's pretty hard.
Thank you. Perfect.
Oh, that's it, because you were talking about emergency, it wasn't an emergency, but I had gotten some phone, emails and phone calls when we had the rain and the melt because of wanting to start to run across Leary Road again.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then I got some other
Yeesh.
emails and phone calls about, I'm not leaving my house until the road is fixed, but
Jeez.
Millbrook
Yeah.
came up fast, but it dropped fast.
it dropped very
Yeah.
It all
Yep.
came out fast and then
Yeah.
gone.
It was really, but I thought that the road crew had done an extraordinary job considering what shape it was last week when we were out trying to drive it.
Mm-hmm.
And what it was yesterday, I was out today.
Yeah.
And they were dumping mudsees and gravel in some areas today.
Yep.
So anyway, I have a few different odds and ends of updates. The Jet Force is having a movie Kick Gas at the Deborah Ross's Memorial Library, March 27th at 6:30. And one of the movie principals, Ben Rich,
Yeah.
who's going to discuss and take questions about the difference between
I
traveling
need
and AV then. And
It's all this.
now is a Jericho resident.
Who is?
One of the principals in the movie.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he was from New Jersey and he's been here for about a year or so.
Oh, wow.
We have interest in being on the wastewater. committee.
No, he does. No, he doesn't, because he's much more interested in, he is a consultant for climate action. And, he also, was a long, he actually was he said yesterday, he's also long-term subbing at MMU. Because he also was a physics teacher, I think it was.
Gotcha.
The other thing is, and this came from Ben, there is now data out there that can be utilized to determine the carbon impact of Jericho and the sequestration in our forests. So
Ben Jocelyn?
Ben Rich.
Ben Rich?
Yeah, he's the one who comes from the Jet Force. who's in the
Oh,
movie.
oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's very much into climate. He wrote
Oh, wow.
an action plan for
Okay.
some towns of New Jersey and stuff. And they found out that Underhill, because it's more forest land, determined that for them, more CO2 is sequestered than is produced in Underhill.
Mhm.
Isn't
Wow.
that cool?
Wow.
Yeah. These are all different websites they went to and calculated all this stuff. And for Jericho, our forests sequester about 46,465 tons of CO2, making a significant resource in reducing our carbon footprint. But the data for Jericho shows we are also producing closer to 55,348 tons of CO2. So we have to do some work to reduce our greenhouse gas impact. But this is because the geeky don't. More and more people in the Jet Force are more of the kind of geeks that have all this data, really looking at big data, which that's why Phil retired actually. And I'm going, oh my God, I can't understand half this myself. But I have a stuff, and then last night, the RPC, at the regular board meeting, had a presentation on the future land use map.
Oh, yeah.
The Act 181 map viewer is now available for use.
Mhm.
Today was their soft opening, and Friday, tomorrow is the formal release of the map. Public comments will be taken until Monday, May 19th. The subcommittee of the PAC, that's the Planning Advisory Committee, that worked on the algorithm to disaggregate the municipality housing units from the county total, is now testing the numbers and is going to release them sometime next week for the municipalities. And comments will also be taken until May 19th for that as well. And so anybody can make comments. And then the Town Hall Art has a new call to artists, and we're gonna, because we didn't get it out in time, it's not gonna start until mid-April. It'll run through June, and it's called Fur, Feathers, and Fins. Should be fun.
Like doggies and kitty
Yes,
cats running
yes,
around.
Yes, yes.
Fish.
Fish.
Fish. Okay.
But
I like
cats
doggies and kitty
doggies,
cats.
you know, always for sure. And if somebody has a parakeet or.
Yeah, macaw.
But, so I had a real mess from, geekdom to, art.
There we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Catherine. Peter, any update?
I met with Bill Butler and Michael Ullman yesterday at my request, just to try to get I've never had a sort of one-on-one coherent conversation with them about what they're trying to do. And so I wanted to just talk to them and get my head around what they're hoping to do. I felt like I have a better sense of what they're hoping to do, which is essentially a humongous building. And they've been talking to Chris Shaheen and the Planning Commission, and I said, let's just snap our fingers and wastewater exists. Well, how much money do you need to do your thing? And they said 30 to 40 million. And I said, great, where are you getting that? And they said, we don't know.
Wow.
They're confident they can get it.
Why? That's what I don't get. I don't understand why they're
They
confident.
think they have some people who will give them, some private sector people who will give them multiple millions of dollars just to make it happen. And they think that there are people who will buy units that will close the gap. And I think they think that there are some politicians who will find some money for them as well. And I said, so what if the town, like, what do you want from the town? What do you want? What should it, like I said, I want development to happen in this department in Riverside. And they made passing reference to, like, well, Greg's plan, he's gonna put a whole bunch of houses in there. And I said, and that's great, like that works for me, like that's not a problem, that's a win for me, whether it's you guys or Greg or both, whatever. My train of thought was, I said, so what do you, for you guys to move anything forward, what do you need, what do you want from the town? How can the town help you move forward as one avenue? And I said, but I don't want to move forward and tell Greg, like, oh, we're not doing your thing, we want this to happen. I said, we want something to happen, and whatever that is, whether it's you guys or Greg or whatever. And then just to be clear, I was speaking for myself and not for the board at all. This is my own personal thing. And they said that they want help with zoning, which is kind of a separate thing with Chris. And they want the town to be on board with them so that they can say the select board is supportive of this, and that they say that gives them access to CBDG grants and municipally accessible.
It's the municipal, that they
Yeah,
want
so
municipal,
municipal
they want grants again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Those are municipal grants.
yeah, and so I said, so this would be like a JCDC thing where they're getting involved in like a public-private partnership thing, and they said, yep, that'd be great. And I said, okay, like that all sounds great. And I did. So that was that. And I said, great, this has been how I cut it off at 1 hour. I said, all I got is an hour. And then I said, thanks for your time. I have to go. And then I spoke with Chris Shaheen today about it, because at the very end of the meeting, Chris popped in and he said, oh, hey, I think I may have found a way to work around the zoning thing you guys want to work on, whatever. And so I asked Chris today, I said, like, why shouldn't the town get involved and try to facilitate something happening on that property? This specifically happened on the property. And he said that's great and all well and good, but they don't have a plan. Because the town can't get involved and say, we're behind this and we're gonna like spend JCBC time on it until they can say, here's an architect's drawing, here's something, here's the plans to build something that is within the zoning regulations. That if they get to that point and the town's supportive, then we can, if the board decided, whatever, task the JCDC with being a part of that to move it forward. And I said, that makes total sense. Like that was helpful for me to be like, oh, right, they don't actually have they have ideas, but not a concrete plan where someone can point to something and we can say like, yes, we like what you're doing there, not we like the general idea.
Yeah, so just so you're aware, I've been working with Bill to try to get that to that next level for like a couple years now. And I haven't, the bridge that I can't seem to close is where's the money coming from? And then, yeah, what's that next step of the plan? I like how you got it a little more specific, like here's exactly what the architecture would look like. Here's like, I've seen the pictures probably 40 times now, no exaggeration.
I'm sure. They had the picture with them.
I know.
They carry it
I can visualize it in my head. And I'm I'm personally very supportive of the project, but there's a couple things that I just get confused about. I'm not against anything. I'm just confused about a couple things. One, why would we partner with them and not all the other people building in Jericho? I find that I have a hard time getting past that one, right? There's developers all over that never come in and like, hey, we'd love access to your grant money. What do you got? You know, like it just feels weird. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but like I don't understand how that would work. Maybe JCBC is the vehicle to do that, and that makes a little more sense than the town doing it. So again, I'm not opposed to anything. I'm just confused about things, and I can't seem to ask the right questions to help me get less confused about it.
Yep.
That's
that's kind of why I was like, can I sit down and talk with you, not in a public meeting, and just try to get my head around? Like I said, literally, they had a map. I said, listen, point. Like I was like, this is the sawmill building. No, not sawmill. I said, can you point on this map? Where's your building going to go on this map? And they said, like, well, wherever we're going to go. I said, no, point, find it. Tell me where it's going to go. And they pointed to a spot. Okay, so we're going to go there. And they said, well, depends what Greg said. It's just they because they're so early in the thinking process. They're not able to like say, we talked to Greg and it's going to go right there. So I think that my sense is that they're sort of at this, they don't know how to move forward because they don't have anything concrete in place, and they don't know how to put something concrete in place without having the money lined up. It's sort of like they have
that I can sympathize with, right? Like I want to help you. I don't know how to help you.
And that's why I said, like, what do you want from the town? Like if we were on board, what would that look like? So and then related to that, I talked to Chris Shaheen today, who said that he'd be. And so I talked to Chris, and Chris kind of explained, like, they didn't have a plan. I said, yep, that makes sense. I understand that, helpful. And I said, but Chris, we got to do something with that property. Like I live 2 doors down. I'm sick of having a dirt lot sitting there with everyone talking about what it could be. Something has to happen.
Sure.
And he said that Chris has a meeting with Greg Tate.
That's good. That's good. He's going to try to
in the next couple of weeks to talk about what's going on. And I said, where are things at right now? Is he waiting for anything from us? And he said, no, Chris told me something about the DRB. I forget what it was, the details, but it's something like the requests the town have happened and the town has responded. And now it's sort of the ball's in Greg's court about what to do next.
Yeah.
I hear your concern about why would we help.
Yeah, like what, I mean,
developer
they've
A
done
or
a
developer
nice
B.
presentation. The other ones haven't asked, to be fair, but it just feels weird for a town to partner with. Maybe it's not weird.
Right.
It just seems weird.
It all depends on what you're looking for in the development. I mean, because some towns do work, those private partner relationships, but usually it's like renovating those big old buildings that are empty and getting housing and that stuff like
Yeah.
that.
I've watched that Riverside sit there for 30 years, and if Greg came to us and said, hey, I want to do a public-private partnership, and I want you guys to get on board so I can get access to municipal grants, so I can so I can do this, I'd be like, great, let's talk about it. I'm not, maybe we can't do it, but like, let's talk about it. I
Sure,
want
yeah, that's a
something
good
to
point.
happen.
So you're more,
I'm not
you're
about
more
wisdom
interested in-
house,
you're
and I told
more
them
interested in
explicitly,
something.
I said, I'm not down, what you guys doing, that's awesome, I'm excited about that, I hope you can do it. But that doesn't mean I'm equally excited about Greg coming in and
Oh, I know.
Bill referenced, like,
Mhm.
Greg just dropping in 100 single family homes, and that meets my needs, 100
Mhm,
single family home
mhm,
property, that meets my needs, that's what I want to be happening. Just like I want your thing to be happening, so I'm not at
can it all
all.
happen? Or is there not enough room? for both?
They said, maybe at some point, somebody said like, maybe your thing goes here and then Greg does 70 houses. Or, so it's like both things can happen.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah,
just want something to happen, and people have been talking about it forever, and I feel like to whatever extent it is legal and ethical, whatever the select board and the town can do to make that growth happen, I think is important. I think it's an economic driver for our community.
And that's why
And Chuck is
initially,
right, that we've got old people living here and no kids in the schools, and we're setting ourselves up for an economic hardship.
yeah, because I mean, initially the town really tried early on with the help
Mm-hmm.
with Greg, and so it, there is potential there.
Yeah.
And just things happened along the way.
Yeah.
Besides COVID. and-
Right, and then family stuff, yeah.
And
So that's my update.
Yeah.
Sorry, it was talking.
that's pretty cool. And that's a good.
Yeah, I'm glad you met with them. I guess maybe understanding the steps involved in pursuing a public-private partnership would be a good next
Oh.
step, just to understand what that is, because I've heard that vehicle mentioned of things a couple times. I don't remember where, in one of these meetings or JCDC. So I do think that maybe
That's a
like
good-
talking to, like, figuring out what that might look like
Mhm,
might be a
mhm,
good thing
mhm.
for.
That's the
And
thing.
the- and
You could talk about that though, if they have one of the different roundtables about economic development at your, a select board meeting this weekend. You could talk about what is.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Ask questions like, why would we say yes to this developer? Why would we tell everybody? Like, how is that appropriate? To
Yeah.
work with an individual and not work with some other, like, just to ask those questions of how it works.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Okay. Okay, those are your updates?
Yep.
Thank you for your updates. The only update that I have that I haven't mentioned yet is, I would really like to have Tyler go look at Raceway Road and give me his engineering recommendations on what should be done this year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years. I'm not talking about the path. I don't want to talk about the path. I want to talk about the road as it is, and just a engineering, non-opinion, opinion, but like an engineering opinion, not emotional
Yep.
reaction of where we're at with that road.
Mhm.
I think we need that. And I ideally, I don't like to be demanding of his time, but right now is the right time.
Oh, yeah.
When the roads are real bad. And
Yep.
Yeah, and we also, it'd be useful to have traffic count, because, they say that there's a number, but how much traffic does it really get?
Mhm.
I don't know why people use it as a
I think-
pattern.
I think the people, the
They had a
local,
number.
motion, they need to put down a counter, they have a real number, not like someone's.
Also, it's a local motion put
I
actually.
think basically put up like a thing across the thing that.
Oh, wow.
I think they know the number.
Oh, wow.
Know exactly the number, not like, it's like over 1,000 cars, like they know the number of like,
Yeah.
it's like 742 cars on this date went down the road.
Yeah, because I know that, that was one of the, it was in the middle of the pack, the last of the gravel road
Mhm.
studies, because the Nashville was first,
Mhm.
because it has well over 1,000, 1,100, 1,200. That, or maybe it was 1,700. It was one of those, big numbers.
Mhm.
That's
So for something like that, I saved it to this meeting because I thought of it this week and felt we had time. Something like this, like if a select board member has, hey, we need to get an employee out to look at this thing, like I don't think it's appropriate to wait to a meeting for something like that. Should we just email you? Like if I just said, hey, Paula, can we get,
Yeah,
do I have that?
Yeah.
Like meet or?
I mean, I
we do
think
that?
so, yes.
I mean.
I don't
Tyler
mind.
is-
Let them spend more,
Like Tyler's money he bills to us.
Yeah.
Right, we don't pay him
Mhm,
unless,
Yep.
unless he, unless he, right.
You don't, you're not
Correct.
contracted, you just like.
right,
pay
exactly.
Per hour. or
Yep,
whatever.
whatever he does the work.
So I don't know, like for things like that, I don't know how we, like.
We don't wanna wait for 2 weeks for a meeting, that's
No,
how
but I
government
mean,
grinds
it
to a
makes
halt.
sense to, ask the town administrator because that's who does the finances, but obviously because of our financial policy, if it's more than $5,000, it
Right.
just. spend.
No, I literally mean to just like, hey, can you go check this out?
Yeah,
Like not,
yeah,
like I'm
Drive down the
talking
road and
maybe
stop
Right,
and look.
yeah.
2 to 3 hours or
Yep.
maybe 4,
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I think it's okay if all of us feel empowered to say, I need Tyler to look at this. I just got done talking to a resident. I have concerns,
Right,
right? Like, we
right,
don't need to
yeah,
wait for.
no, I don't think so, no.
Can Paula tell us? Like, if you call Paula and say, hey, Paula, can you have Tyler? And can Paula just send us an email?
Yeah.
Individually to say, hey, Eric wants Tyler to go out and look at Raceway.
Yep.
And then
Yep.
just some.
Yeah, I'd like you to do that when they ask, but.
Okay,
not the
okay,
other-
all right, got it.
Yeah.
I thought that's where it was
Mayor.
going. Mayor, got it.
Okay,
Okay.
that was all I had. Thank you. All right, so that's select board updates. Next is approval of warrants. I signed them, and then next we have.
Yeah,
the-
they're kind of a little wonky because I got a couple of things I need to check with Linda on.
I had nothing on the minutes.
I didn't either. I read all of them. too.
Did you? You
I
did?
read the whole thing.
Yeah, the only thing, my point is, when there's the attendees, it's too bad. It's
Yeah.
so difficult to get full names because we had Valerie,
Yeah.
we had Suzanne,
What-
we had Brian.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
One that's not even our real name. One that's like a-
I think that was the Zoom.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
the one-
LB, Cupper Zoom, yeah, Yep.
Yeah, that's how- yeah.
yep. Okay, no corrections?
So I make a motion to,
Wow,
approve the minutes of 3/6.
Thank you.
With notation wise, it's too bad that people forget to give us a full name.
yeah.
I would second that.
All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Can I quickly say something real quick? I always think of this when I'm reading the minutes, when I've been at the meeting and then I'm reading the minutes. John, I don't know if you're just recording this or if you're actually listening, but I'm so impressed with how you take all of this random stuff and conversations and questions and
Compile it.
pull it together and
Yeah.
get all of it down there really, really well in a way that capture like, I've never been like, oh, I wish you'd put this down that someone said. It's always all there. And a lot of the other stuff that is like us talking over each other and stuff, I can't imagine that it's very easy. So I just appreciate what a good job you do with minutes.
Thanks, that's nice to hear.
Thank you.
I totally agree. In doing that, I do find sometimes that some of my funniest jokes are.
Don't
missed.
make it-
Oh, brother. Donna, in these minutes, slide something in.
Fair enough. I don't know if we have an executive session. Paula probably needs to like get caught up with
Sleep.
whatever. Thanks for trying. I'm glad that you got away and I'm
Thank
glad that
you.
you were able to spend time with family. I'm very glad that
Yes.
you're back.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Second that.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks all.
8:32. Thanks, everybody.
Wait.